Anthony Wright from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
Welcome everybody back to another Detroit Lions game day. It's been a while. I haven't been able to do this for any game this season, but today we are finally back to it. The Detroit Lions are set to take on the Denver Broncos in Denver today, and they are set to kick off in just a couple of minutes. However, before we get into the actual game and before we get to kickoff, there are a couple of things to talk about. Early, mainly all of the injury concerns that the Lions have this week. The Detroit Lions have multiple inactive players this week, including David Blau, Trinity Benson, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Julian Okwara, DeAndre Swift, as well as TJ Hockenson. And you might look at that list and say, TJ is a big loss. DeAndre Swift is a big loss. Julian Okwara has made several plays for the Lions this season. And even Jalen Reeves-Maybin has been quite a contributor on the special team side of the football. The shots don't end there, as the Detroit Lions also added 3 more members to the COVID reserve list in the past 24 hours, that being running back Jamal Williams, starting safety Tracy Walker, and cornerback Ifeatu Melifonwu. Now, again, these are 3 more players. 2 of them are either starters or have huge roles in this team's success, with Jamal Williams being a huge factor in the Lions' run game, getting a lot of carries this season alongside DeAndre Swift, and of course with Tracy Walker being the number 1 safety on this roster, being kind of that really the only true safety, really true playmaking safety we have that is on the roster and can make plays for us. So the Lions are going into this game starting Jermar Jefferson at running back. They're starting Dean Marlowe and Will Harris at safety. Ifeatu Melifonwu, a rookie who has struggled with injuries early in the season, has just had some really horrible luck when it comes to staying healthy and staying on the field for the Detroit Lions. But when he's been on the field, he's been a really solid cornerback. He's been a guy that, just made plays, right? He had, I believe, 2 pass deflections in his first and only start versus Green Bay. He had a fumble recovery in his very first game versus the San Francisco 49ers. And I mean, overall, this is a guy that just makes plays. This is a guy that, is just good in coverage, is really good as an athlete, is built well to be a cornerback, 6'2", real good height, real good size, speed candidate, a guy that is just, a really solid young cornerback for this room. And unfortunately, they're not going to have him for this game. So you look at the Lions this week, they're without their starting running back. They're without their backup running back, who essentially gets as many touches as the starters. So they're without their top 2 running backs. They're without their top pass catcher in TJ Hockenson. They're without their top safety in Tracy Walker. They're without all of these players. And, at the same time, I feel like the Lions aren't out of this game, right? On paper, you might look at it and say, okay, they're without their top weapon, they're without their top running back, they're without this guy and that guy. How are the Lions possibly going to win? And yet I think the keys to the Detroit Lions' success this year are still on the field, right? You still have a lot of starters on defense, right? You still have Amani Oruwariye on the outside, who has 5 interceptions this season. You still have Jerry Jacobs, the undrafted free agent rookie out of Arkansas, who has been really good, is yet to get an interception this season, but has numerous pass breakups and has a ton of big defensive plays for this season as a starter for the Detroit Lions. Alex Anzalone is still starting in the middle. Charles Harris is still starting on the edge. He's still rushing the passer as He is our most productive pass rusher on the season for the Detroit Lions. On offense, we still have Jared Goff and Josh Reynolds, who have had a really, really strong connection. We still have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been really good over the past couple of weeks. Our offensive line is completely healthy, with the exception of Frank Ragnow, but it's the same offensive line that has been run blocking and pass blocking over the past several weeks for the Detroit Lions. Jermar Jefferson, as a 7th-round rookie, averages 13 yards a carry as of right now in his NFL career. He's popped off 2 big touchdown runs this year on very, very limited carries. So, you look at this team, right, and you say they're without their target one, they're without their top 2 running backs, they're without starter X, Y, and Z. And at the same time, a lot of the players that have helped the Lions win football games, have helped the Lions be close in these football games, are still playing today. Not to mention Dan Campbell is coming off a pretty good game, I would say, as a play caller. I think he's really growing into that role. Jared Goff has looked much more comfortable over the past 2 weeks. They've been much more aggressive, pushing the ball down the field. Jared Goff had multiple big completions down the field last week for touchdowns. Right, had that seam ball to Hockenson, had that seam ball to Brock Wright. Both of them went for touchdowns. And then on the final play of the game, with all of that pressure, he threw a game-winning touchdown pass. So Jared Goff looks to be getting much more confident in his ability to throw the football. The Denver Broncos are a 6-6 team. They're a solid football team, but I don't think there's any reason the Detroit Lions can't win this football game, right? They're a team that all year have been struggling with injuries, a team that all year has really, really struggled on just the health aspect of the game. I don't think there's been a single game where the Lions have been 100% healthy. And yet they've hung in a lot of games. They have been within 3 points of Baltimore. They've been within 3 points of Minnesota. They beat Minnesota in the second week. The Denver Broncos just got to delay a game on the very first play of the game. Oh, my fault. I didn't realize that was for Demaryius Thomas. They went out with 10 men. Cortland Sutton did not go out on the field for the first play, and they took a delay of game for Demaryius Thomas, who unfortunately did pass away over the past week. Extremely unfortunate to see that. I believe the Lions are just going to decline the penalty and they are going to move on to the next play. And it looks like that's exactly what happened. Speaking on the whole Demaryius Thomas thing, he was kind of in his prime before I really got into football, before I really kind of got to know all there was to know about the NFL. But at the same time, I still know Demaryius Thomas. I still watched him. Maybe not quite in his prime, but definitely to the point where I know who he was. I know how good of a player that he was. And from all the things that have come out, how good of a person he was in his community. And it really sucks that he passed away as soon as he did. He would have been 34 on Christmas Day. And I don't know the exact things, when it comes to what happened. But I know that unfortunately he did pass away, and the Denver Broncos are kind of commemorating him today, which is very cool to see. But with that being said, the Detroit Lions have them on a 2nd down and 10. And Melvin Gordon breaks for a pretty solid run, 11-yard gain on the play, giving the Denver Broncos a fresh set of downs. And honestly, I think what it's really going to come down to today is, can the Detroit Lions rush defense stop the Denver Broncos? Because I feel pretty confident in our secondary. I feel pretty confident that, Amani Oruwariye and Jerry Jacobs, and even to a lesser extent, guys like Dean Marlowe and Will Harris can hold their own in the secondary. They've done it all year versus arguably more talented receiving cores than what they're facing today. They faced more talented quarterbacks than Teddy Bridgewater in the past, and they've held their own very, very well. But my thing is, can the Lions rush defense stop the Denver Broncos? Because Melvin Gordon is out there. He's really good. Javonte Williams is a phenomenal young rookie who is just run the ball so well over the past couple of weeks and really throughout the entire season when he's been given a chance. And honestly, I don't know how well the Detroit Lions are going to be able to stop the Denver Broncos. Now, I just want to check something real quick. As the Detroit Lions on 2nd and 5 allow a 3-yard rush, I don't know. It's tough as the Lions because obviously you're 1-10 going into this game. I guess they're not officially eliminated from the playoffs just yet, but at the same time, it's pretty likely that they're out of the playoffs. They've been playing really well, though, over the past couple of weeks. I know I kind of mentioned this I kind of mentioned this earlier when it came to the Lions season as a whole and just kind of what they're doing. But, they're playing pretty well. They've held a lot of teams to really close games. Let me put this back up for you. And they're playing really, really hard. He says, so you're saying there's a chance. There is a chance. There's absolutely a chance that the Detroit Lions can go out and win this game. I think that our secondary matches up pretty well versus Denver. I think that, Charles Harris is having a really good year. Offensively, I know it sucks that we're not going to have our top two running backs, but Jared Goff's looked a lot more comfortable. Jamar Jefferson is a really good rookie running back. I know he hasn't gotten all the opportunity in the world, but when he has gotten those touches, he has just been so explosive as a runner. And I think today, Jamar Jefferson's going to get 15, maybe even 20 touches. And I mean, as far as from what I've seen from Jamar Jefferson when scouting him in college and looking at him in the NFL so far, if he gets 20 touches, I guarantee you at least two of those break off for big runs, and at least one of those touches breaks off for a huge touchdown. So, offensively, I think you still have weapons. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown can still make some plays for you. I think Josh Reynolds can make some plays for you. I think Jamar Jefferson can make plays for you. And even though they're not the biggest name guys, they are productive players, right? Josh Reynolds, I think, has really unlocked the Lions offense. It seems like Jared Goff is so much more comfortable going down the field now than he was a few weeks ago, right? He got benched after not playing very well. That Steelers game, he had like 40 yards by halftime or something like that, like a ridiculously low yards per attempt and a total yardage mark. But as soon as the Lions brought in Josh Reynolds, as soon as Josh Reynolds hit the field, you saw him get more comfortable. You saw that deep play touchdown against the Chicago Bears. You saw, a couple deep shots, not necessarily like 50-yard bombs, but, good 20, 30-yard passes through the air to TJ Hawkinson and Brock Wright. That touchdown pass was 18 yards in the air. That was a really good pass by Jared Goff. And I think this team is playing with confidence. After that first win, they've been playing hard. They've been putting in the effort. They've been showing that they can stick around with just about anybody in the NFL. Maybe not beat everybody in the NFL. Maybe they're not as talented as teams like Baltimore, even as teams like Minnesota, but they're going to give you the effort. They're going to give you the fight, and they're going to stick around in every single game. And now they have the confidence. Now they have won a game. Now, in their past 4 games, they've won a game, they've tied a game, and they've lost 2 after starting 0-8, 0-9, like they were 4 weeks ago. When you go into, the Steelers game, right, you're 0-8 as a team, and you're thinking, okay, all this hard work we're putting in just isn't really coming together. But, you get that tie, build some confidence, you lose a couple weeks, you then, you win the game versus Minnesota, you build even more confidence. So this young team that's been playing hard and keeping games close every single week is now having confidence in learning how to win because they did it last week. Now they know that this hard work pays off. Now they know that what they're doing is going to work. And if they play like they did last week, they can win every single football game. If their defense continues to play at the high level that we saw, last week, or even the high level that we saw on Thanksgiving and the high level we saw before that, at allowing, 13, 14 points a game, less than 20 a game, I think they can win. Now, unfortunately, Jerry Jacobs has left the field with injury as the Denver Broncos on that big completion, I believe, to Tim Patrick. Jerry Jacobs unfortunately took a pretty bad hit and was taken off the field. He just walked into the blue tent. He was not walking under his own power. He was in need of some assistance by the trainers. So that is super unfortunate. Jerry Jacobs, a player that has stepped up so big this year for the Detroit Lions, again, hasn't forced that big turnover yet, hasn't really gotten that big game-changing play, but has so many passes defended. I believe blew up 2 or 3 screen passes versus the Minnesota Vikings last week, which was a big part of the victory. He's a good tackler. He's a fighter. He's the exact kind of cornerback Dan Campbell wants out there. And unfortunately, I don't think he's returning the game. It looked pretty bad. I think, if I had to guess, looking at the hit, they're evaluating him for a concussion. That was a really bad pass interference call on Nickel Roby-Coleman. He didn't even touch the guy. That was a poor call. But again, Jerry Jacobs, unfortunately, I hope Jacobs is okay because he's been so good this year for the Lions. I believe he only allowed one touchdown, and that was in like his first or second start. That's not a catchable ball, but whatever. That I guess the Lions can't win everything. I hope Jacobs is all right. He's been a bright spot to watch. He absolutely has. Jerry Jacobs has been so good this year for the Detroit Lions. I hope he's okay. I hope it's nothing serious, and I hope to see Jerry Jacobs back before the end of the game. Luke G is in the building saying, "Hey, what's up? Happy to see you back." I'm happy to be back, man. uh, I have been very busy at school and I have not been able to sit down and talk Lions recently, but I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad I'm here talking Lions football. Right now, unfortunately, we only have 2 people in the live stream right now, but I'm hoping some more people can show up throughout the game, hoping some more people can come in and talk some Detroit Lions football and just enjoy the game. Enjoy game day with the Detroit Lions. Hopefully looking to get your second win in a row and second win on the season. It's going to be a tough one. The Denver Broncos are a solid 500 team who are fairly healthy, and the Lions are not a healthy football team, but they've been keeping a lot of games close. It does look like they're having some struggles on defense right now. The Denver Broncos are running the ball almost at will at this point, averaging, I think, like 9 yards a carry as a team, or at least it seems that way. Unfortunate, but hopefully the Lions can pick it up here in the run defense and especially in the red zone. Luke says that's school life and girlfriend life. That is true. Very busy, but trying to make time for everybody. And right now, I got time for everybody that chooses to be here. So couldn't be happier to be back. But yeah, it looks like the Lions might be giving up. Touchdown. That was a good stop. 2nd and 1. They got a pretty good run stop. I believe stop it for maybe 3rd and 1. I don't know if he got it exactly, but I mean, you look at this team, if you're watching this game, right, you was that allowed points on 100% of opponent red zone. Oh, that's not good. But you look at this team right now, if you're watching it live like I am on the screen right below the camera, right? I mean, you're looking at this team. Look at the defense that Aaron Glenn's fielding right now. 51. I don't like, and as a Lions fan who knows almost the entire roster, 51 is out there who I'm not entirely sure about. You have 42, Jalen Elliott, who is an undrafted free agent, 43, who hasn't played a snap. Like, there are probably 5 or 6 guys on this defense right now that haven't played a snap, if they've even played in a game at this point in the season. Because I know Barry hasn't 43. 40 or 51 might have played a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true. This team is heavily depleted on both sides of the ball right now because of injury and with the flu going around, which I haven't even talked about really yet. I mean, it's just really, really tough for the Detroit Lions, right? And at the same time, I mean, you look at the paper side of this game, right? The Lions are probably out-talented by the Denver Broncos when both teams are fully healthy, and the Lions are not fully healthy. I mean, they had 22 players on the injury report this week, most of them being with illness. They're missing starter after starter after starter, and this team, a team that was already depleted of talent going into the week, lost 4 starters and several other big-time role players, not to mention a lot of the players that are playing today. Like Jared Goff, like Penei Sewell, have the flu right now. They are not even 100% healthy. Isn't it like 43% of our roster is down? Yeah, it is. It's something crazy like that. I think the Lions are playing without 20% of their roster today, or like 20% of their actual roster, not including practice squad players. Like, I think the stat was they're playing without 20% of their roster, 20 something, like a high 20s, which is kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, you're going in, you obviously don't plan to start all of these backups, but you have to at this point. The Lions kind of have to roll with the punches yet again. And obviously, I mean, there's nobody cheating the Lions here. It's just really, really poor luck. But I can't think of another team in the NFL this season that has faced this much adversity just from injuries and sickness and just bad luck in general, right? I mean, you look at this team, like on paper, like when they're 100% healthy, this team isn't a bad football team, right? I mean, you look, Jared Goff has looked better, but throughout the season hasn't been great. You know, DeAndre Swift is a young, talented back. TJ Hawkinson is a young, talented tight end. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a young, talented wide receiver. Quintez Cephas was having a good year before his year was eventually ended with injury. You know, you look at Frank Ragnow, the all-pro center that has had his season ended with injury. You look at Taylor Decker, who didn't play a lot of the season because of injury. You look at on the defensive side, right? Romeo Okora is out. Trey Flowers is out. Julian Okora is out. You know, Jeff Okuda is now out. Tracy Walker is out. You look at now Jerry Jacobs, another starter, is out. The Lions are on like their fourth or fifth string boundary wide receiver or boundary cornerback right now. The amount of players that aren't playing right now is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of players the Lions have on their roster that aren't contributing on game day right now is ridiculous. And it's not even necessarily the Lions' fault, right? I mean, injuries happen in the NFL, sickness happens in life and in the NFL. And unfortunately, the Lions are just being hit harder than anybody else right now. And unlike Baltimore, they don't have that established coaching staff. They don't have the veterans in the locker room necessarily to steady that ship with the sheer amount of injuries that they have. Now, again, at this point, the season's over. The Lions have a 1 in 2 trillion chance of making the playoffs right now. And I did not make that number up. That is the actual number and the actual odds of the Detroit Lions making the playoffs right now is 1 in 2 trillion. So, there's a chance, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately, for the Lions. And at this point, they're playing spoiler. They're playing for heart, or they're just, they're playing for respect. They're playing for their own dignity. They're playing for a spot on the roster next year. And the Detroit Lions, as fans and as the coaches, I think they're looking right now at, what can young players do? What can we see out of Amon-Ra St. Brown? What can we see out of, Godwin Igwebuike, who is right now the starting running back for this team? What can we see out of Jermar Jefferson? What can we see out of Brock Wright? What can we see out of, Penei Sewell? And it's not even just the rookies, right? It's what can we see out of, some of these free agents? What can we see out of, some of the younger players that might have been here? The guys like Jalen Elliott, who was here last year but didn't really get a chance until this year. Guys like maybe even, David Blau or Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I don't think, has earned his spot next season. So at this point for the Lions, I don't think it's so much about winning as it is about, what pieces do we have to build around? Because the Lions are 1-10-1. The odds of them making the playoffs are right next to 0. And at this point, already being a depleted football team, they lost so much talent this year or this week alone. And I think, you just evaluate individuals at this point. At this point, it almost becomes like an extended preseason for next year, right? Key inactives this week: Jamal Williams, Evan Brown, Tracy Walker, Bobby Price, Mark Gilbert, Ifeatu Melifonwu, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and Julian Okwara are all players that were sidelined this week. All players that were expected to play on Monday and aren't playing on Sunday. That is a long list for any team, but especially a team like the Detroit Lions with inexperienced coaches, with inexperienced play callers, and, just in general, a young and inexperienced team. And I believe Jared Goff takes a sack here. He does, given up by partially Penei Sewell, although he did get his guy enough where Jared could step up. I believe that was given up by the center who is in place of Frank Ragnow. Maybe it was given up by Jonah Jackson. I'm not sure. We'll see right here. It was given up by the center and Big V. The Lions are going to have to punt here on 4th and 13. And again, as much as I want to see the Lions win, I think right now it's more important to identify individuals, because if I had to guess, I would say 30 to 40% of the roster right now that's contributing to the Lions won't be here next year. I think you're going to see a very similar offseason this coming offseason to what we saw last year, where it's like, we have guys here that fill spots. We have guys on the roster who are just kind of there, right? and you're going to look throughout free agency. I believe the Lions are set to have a top 10, maybe top 15 in cap space this year in the offseason. And I think if you're Brad Holmes, you kind of take a similar approach to last year where it's like, what did guys show this year? What guys can we keep? Right? You look at, just starting on the offensive side of the ball, right? What wide receivers contributed and what wide receivers did. If you didn't contribute and I can find somebody better than you, then we're going to upgrade. And if not, you can stay for another year, but you're not in the long-term plans. And I think that you're going to see a lot of turnover in this roster next year because I think the Lions have so much draft capital next year. They have so much, just cap capital, so much money next year as far as free agency and, trade assets and stuff like that. You're going to see a really big roster turnover next year as the Lions bring in talent, kind of like they did this year, right? And you're going to say, okay, what talent did they bring in? They went from, 5-11 last year to 1-10-1 this year. They obviously didn't bring in much talent, but that's not really true, in my opinion, at least. You look at this team, their goal wasn't to build on what was there. Brad Holmes' goal when he came in was not to build upon what Matt Patricia had in the same way that Matt Patricia's goal was supposed to be build upon what Jim Caldwell built and make it better. That was what Matt Patricia's goal was coming in. That wasn't Dan Campbell's goal. Dan Campbell didn't come into this year thinking, I'm going to build on this, 5-11 team to make it better, when it's very clear that either a lot of these players don't want to be here or are injury prone or, are just not my kind of guys, not guys that I want to be in this building. So he got rid of them. Right. And you saw all this roster turnover. A lot of the free agents, even from, 2 years ago that were signed in Bob Quinn's last regime or Bob Quinn's last offseason, were cut. Desmond Trufant was cut. You got, guys like Christian Jones, who was cut. You got guys that all over the place were cut from this roster, even though they had years left, right? The Lions and Brad Holmes could have just left that group of players to, stick out another year on their contract and let them go after that. But they didn't want those guys. They got rid of those guys and actively looked to replace those guys. And the Detroit Lions this year are building from the ground up. The first way or how you start a build like that is you have to tear everything down, because Matt Patricia did build the foundation. It was a flimsy foundation built on injury-prone players that didn't put in the work and didn't put in the effort every single day. And that's not a shot at any specific Lions player, but you could just see it on the field. You could see that the Lions were done trying. They had given up on Matt Patricia. When Darrell Bevell took over, the attitude went up a little bit. But at that point in the season, it was too late, and the Lions were already losing games, and the Lions were already, kind of out of everything. And there was not really a reason to buy in, because you knew that this guy wasn't the long-term option, because, everybody said that Darrell Bevell wasn't the long-term option. So Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were hired. They came in and they tore everything down. All the foundational pieces that were holding together Matt Patricia's football team are no longer here. Matthew Stafford is gone. You look at, Kenny Golladay is gone. Marvin Jones is gone. You look at some of the defensive players that, weren't really great, but, Jamie Collins is gone. Trey Flowers is on his way out the door. They tore down everything to the foundation of this team, and they started building. But when you spend most of your offseason tearing down until the draft, pretty much, you're going to have not the greatest talent, because you spent half your offseason tearing down and not building up. Whereas the next offseason, they can spend the whole time building, right? Instead of, replacing pieces because they didn't work, they're going to be upgrading upon the pieces they have and keeping the guys that, really helped them be specific, or really helped them be, just winners, and really helped them achieve their goals this season. And I know there's not a lot of winning, but they're going to keep around the guys that helped them win. They're going to keep around the contributors from last year, and they're going to build upon what they have this year instead of tearing it down again. Right. And that's where you're going to see the Lions really make a jump. That's where you're going to see the Lions go from, I don't know, maybe they finish the year with 2, maybe 3 wins if they can get healthy. They finish the year, let's even, worst case scenario, the Lions finish the season 1-15-1, right? Let's say they don't win another game. They shut everything down, right? They, just put DeAndre on IR, put TJ on IR, put, all of these players that are injured or sick. They don't play these players and they just give young players rep after rep after rep. They're not going to tear it down next season. They're going to build upon it. And they're going to take the pieces like Amani Oruwariye. They're going to take the pieces like, Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, Charles Harris, Derek Barnes, Tracy Walker, and they're going to build upon it. They're going to get more talent. They're going to get more depth on this team. And I think you're going to see the Lions take a big jump next year because, this year was the test year. This year was the benchmark. This was the year that there are no standards. There is no expectation. This is the first year of a rebuild. And the first year of a rebuild is not a year where you're going to win a lot of football games. Now, the Lions have been competitive in a lot of football games. The Lions very well could be a 5-6 win team right now, just like the Denver Broncos, if they were 1, healthy, and 2, had a couple of plays luck out in their favor, but unfortunately they didn't. So they're going to go into this offseason, and all offseason, Dan Campbell's going to preach, look at this game, look at that game. You were close against Baltimore. You were close against Minnesota. You were close against Chicago. You were close against Pittsburgh. You were close against the Cleveland Browns. Every single game, all 5 of those games were decided by 3 points. 3 points in 4 of those 5 games were decided on the last second field goals. The Lions could be 6-6 right now. The Lions could be 6-5-1 right now. If the math works out that way. I'm not entirely sure. But the Lions could have 5 to 6 wins, like really, really realistically right now. And if, Justin Tucker doesn't break an NFL record and make history, the Lions have another win. If, an inconsistent Minnesota kicker doesn't have the kick of his season at that given time, that's another win. If, there aren't mental lapses in the Chicago game, that's another win right there. If if you make that extra point against Pittsburgh, that's another win right there. If you play, a little bit better against a pretty good Cleveland team, you have another win right there. That's within 3 points. If you hit an extra field goal or whatever, you're tying that game, you're going into overtime, and who knows at that point, right? That's 5 games decided by maybe 7 plays. That's the difference. Those 7 to 8 plays is the difference between 1-10-1 and 6-6. Is the difference between 1-10-1 and 5-7, maybe even 7-6. One Pride 40 says, remember when I told you that MSU would beat U of M? I do remember that. It was a very fun game. I was at that game, and honestly, I think Michigan came out of that game as a better football team. And now the Michigan Wolverines are going to be competing in the college football playoff. And, I think Michigan State has a bright future as well. I thought that game would be close. I thought Michigan would pull that game out. And I think the reason that Michigan lost is because I think Mel Tucker outcoached Jim Harbaugh. I think he stuck with what worked. He relied on his best players. And, Michigan State won the game because of that. And I think Michigan State was deserving of that win. I think they played their hearts out for 4 quarters. I think they believe in Mel Tucker. And I think that's the reason that Mel Tucker got his big extension. Luke, I'd love to hear your opinion on that, by the way. I haven't got a chance to talk to you since Mel Tucker got that extension. I'd love to hear your opinion. Speaking of Luke G, he says the Lions should have 8 wins right now. I don't know about 8, but I think the Lions should have 5 to 6 wins right now, right? And, you look at the talent, you look at the new coaches, and you can make excuse after excuse. The Lions should have 5 to 6 wins right now. Borderline, that's what it is. Bottom line, that's where the Lions sit right now. They should be a 5 to 6 win team, which is, the ceiling of the Matt Patricia era right now. And, luck is luck. Luck goes your way sometimes. Luck doesn't go your way sometimes. But bottom line, the Lions should be a 5 to 6 win team with 4 games left in the season, with 5 games left in the season. 154 says, give me the safety from Notre Dame. I don't disagree. Kyle Hamilton is an absolute monster. He is such a good player, such a talent. Officially declared for the NFL draft 2 days ago. Will forego his bowl game, unfortunately, but he has nothing else to show. I mean, in college football, he has nothing left to prove. He's the best safety in college football. He's the best safety in the country, and he's going to be a top 10, maybe a top 5 pick when it's all said and done. And if the Lions are lucky enough to get the safety, then they do. Now, I don't know how I feel about taking a safety at number 1 overall. I feel like that's, kind of maybe not reaching for a position, because I think Kyle Hamilton is very much good enough to be the number 1 player in this draft class. But I don't know if you can warrant taking a safety at number 1. If the Lions trade down 2-3 spots, right? If the Lions take Kyle Hamilton at 4 or 5, I am 100% okay with that. I'm not sure the Lions will take Kyle Hamilton because of the positional value of safety. Although I think he's very much worthy of the pick talent-wise. I want to get another win. We need to get away from the number 1 pick. I agree. And as much as like everybody's like at this point, oh, the Lions need all this talent. The Lions need Aiden Hutchinson to come in and save the day. The Lions need Kayvon Thibodeau to come in and save the day. The Lions need Kyle Hamilton to come save the day. I don't think tanking and losing out is what's best for the Lions. I think, again, still pushing for a victory, still trying your absolute best to win every single game and trying to keep every game as close and competitive as possible is more important, because I think that builds your culture better than tanking. I think, attempting to win every game, pushing and fighting for every game and making every game close long term is better than whoever the Lions could possibly draft with the number 1 pick. Because building a culture lasts longer than any player. Building a culture lasts longer than any individual in a locker room. And sometimes it lasts longer than coaches themselves. The culture that teams build sometimes outlive the people that built those cultures, right? A good example of that would be, I don't know, let's just say Alabama, right? And I know it's college football, it's a little bit different, but you look at Alabama, right? Nick Saban built this culture in Alabama of winning, of being the top dog, being the heaviest hitter in the SEC and in the country. And in turn, he has been there for how many years and has been there for, X amount of draft classes. And his first draft class are retired from the NFL. That's how long he's been that's how long he's been the head coach at Alabama. His first recruiting class has retired from the NFL because their culture is so good. You look at Notre Dame, right? Brian Kelly built a culture. And even before that, the coaches before him built a culture that survived until Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly won them a national championship. He took them to the college football playoff. He moves on, and Notre Dame is still a top 5 still a top 5 program in the country because they're Notre Dame, because that culture was built and because that culture continuously stands. I think a good example of that would be, the New England Patriots in the NFL. Bill Belichick built a culture of winning, of being the top dog, of playing to your player strengths and making them the best players that they can be in your system. And the argument was always, well, is it Belichick or is it Brady? At this point, it was very clearly Belichick, because when Tom Brady left, the Patriots had a down year. The Patriots got a quarterback that fit their system, much like Tom Brady did, in Mac Jones, and now they're the AFC's number 1 seed again. It was very clearly Belichick. Belichick was the reason that they won all those Super Bowls. Tom Brady's great. Tom Brady is the GOAT. And Tom Brady absolutely played his part. But if you give Bill Belichick a top 20 quarterback in the NFL, he'll take you to the playoffs every time because that's the culture he built. It doesn't matter who his players are. His culture outlived Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform. His culture outlived Willie McGinnis' career. His culture outlived Gronkowski. It outlived, a lot of the players that built the Patriots dynasty. Those players built it, and Bill Belichick continues to carry it because he's that good of a coach and built that kind of a culture. And I think a culture like that is the single most important thing an NFL franchise can have. Because you can have talent. Sure, you can get the number one draft pick. You can get all this raw talent and all these raw prospects. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a culture and if you don't have a coach that wants to win, you're never going to be anything special. And I think the Lions need a culture more than they need a number one pick. One Pride 40 says, you don't take a raw prospect number one overall, and Hutchinson is a scheme misfit here. I agree. And I didn't hear this interview, but somebody told me that Hayden Hutchinson pretty much said he doesn't want to go to the Detroit Lions, right? And I think Hutchinson's a great player. I do. I have absolutely no disrespect for Aiden Hutchinson in any way, shape, or form. I think what he did at Michigan this year has been phenomenal. But I don't want Aiden Hutchinson as a Detroit Lion. I don't want to see him in Honolulu Blue because I don't think he fits the scheme. I don't think he really wants to be here based off some of the comments that I've heard. And I don't think he is the best player in this class to take at number one overall. Another player that is great, and we'll get way into this in a couple months once draft season rolls around, is Kayvon Thibodeaux. Kayvon is phenomenal. He is a great player and probably the rawest and highest ceiling player since Chase Young. And I'm not saying Chase Young was wrong. We all saw Chase Young play it out. But I think he's the most talented player since Chase Young to come out of college football. But Kayvon Thibodeaux is, one, slightly inconsistent, and two, injury prone as you'll ever see. Do I want to take a raw injury prone player with the number one pick? Because that kind of reminds me of Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon Clowney's fine. He's a good pass rusher. He put up double-digit sacks several times in his career. Not all of them with the team that drafted him, but he's put up, a really solid career for himself. But I think if the Texans could go back, they wouldn't take Jadeveon Clowney with the first overall pick because he wasn't the generational pass rusher that they drafted him to be. And as much as I think the Lions could benefit from an alpha pass rusher, I don't know if I see it in Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeaux. I see the potential, but I don't want to take a swing with the first overall pick. If we're taking a first overall pick, I want somebody that I know is going to be good. I want somebody that doesn't have those injury concerns, somebody that isn't scheme dependent. I want somebody that wants to be here first off. And, like when Prep 40 is saying, Aiden Hutchinson knows how to run a 3-4. The Lions run a 4-3. That's their defensive scheme. That's what Aaron Glenn wants to run. And not to mention, Kayvon Thibodeaux takes some plays off, and I don't think Campbell would appreciate that or tolerate that in Detroit. Like, again, the injury-prone thing, the effort sometimes that Kayvon puts out, I think all of it comes together to the point where it's like, is this the guy that you want with the number one pick? Like, you look at highlights, you look at talent, and you say, that guy's the best player in college football. But you watch games and film and you say, that guy is the most talented guy in college football 10 plays of the 60. Right? You look at him and you go, well, the plays that he tries on, the plays that he really wants to work, he's great. But the plays he takes off, he's just a body, and it's nothing special. As the Lions face 3rd down and 8, Jared Goff is extending the play, does get a first down, but there is a flag, unfortunately. And he says, honestly, the safety makes the most sense for us, but the Lions fans don't want to admit it. I don't actually disagree with that. I think that Kyle Hamilton is the best player for the Detroit Lions with a top 5 pick. And people might say, oh, why would you take a safety with the number 1 overall pick when you have so many glaring needs? And honestly, I think there's a couple different ways the Lions can go. My first thought is Kyle Hamilton, because Kyle Hamilton is such a talented safety, and I think him and Tracy Walker would be such a great duo. I mean, they're just both talented. They're both big, long safeties that have really, really good speed. I think, you think the one side, or geez, I just read a text, sorry. But I think Kyle Hamilton is the best player for the Detroit Lions. The only other player that I would consider for the Detroit Lions with the top 5 pick would be the defensive tackle out of Georgia. And I can't quite remember his name. It's something Davis, I believe. But it's the defensive line who just won Best Interior Defensive Lineman of the Year for the Georgia Bulldogs. I want either one of those players because both of those players have a clean bill of health. Wow, that was a big play. Let's just see what happened here. I don't know who just made that catch. I guess Craig Reynolds ran for a big game. Craig Reynolds is good. That's crazy. I should have started him. Why don't the Lions like Jamar Jefferson? I don't understand that. Like, Craig Reynolds is great. Like, Craig Reynolds is fine. But why don't the Lions like Jamar Jefferson? I don't get that. That's so weird. But I mean, hey, if Craig Reynolds is going to keep breaking off big runs, I will not complain about it. But yeah, if it's up to me as of right now, and I'm so excited for draft season because I have some really good ideas, and this class is really fun to watch and to scout. But honestly, to me, it's Kyle Hamilton or Jordan Davis. I think it's Jordan Davis. Let me look. Georgia DT. Okay, it is Jordan Davis. That's who I was thinking of. Jordan Davis is really good. Apparently so is Craig Reynolds. But those are my 2 picks if I'm the Detroit Lions. I don't want an edge rusher who has injury concerns. I don't want a raw prospect as a number 1 pick. I want somebody that's proven statistically. I want somebody who's proven technically, like as far as fundamentals and stuff like that. I want somebody who is the full package. I don't want somebody who can either be a home run or a strikeout, right? I don't want a boom or bust product. I want somebody that has a high floor but a higher ceiling. And I think those 2 players are Jordan Davis from Georgia or, touchdown Lions, big play. I like that. That was a really good play call. I don't know who called that, but that was phenomenal. But I want Jordan Davis or I want Kyle Hamilton. And right now I'm leaning towards Kyle Hamilton. And then with the, 20th or whatever, let's just say I'm going to project 27. That's a mid-20s pick. That's about, I think, where the Rams are going to fit, divisional round, maybe championship with a good game. I think with that 27th, 28th pick, I think you're looking maybe quarterback if the right guy is there. I don't think the quarterback class is as bad as a lot of people think it is. So you look either maybe quarterback, maybe pass rusher. Maybe you go defensive line again in the first round, depending on who falls, right? If Ajabo is still there, I think Ajabo from Michigan, the partner for Aiden Hutchinson, would be – what just happened? False start. I don't know what happened. But I think Ajabo, if you're looking for a pass rusher, I think he realistically could be there in – the 20s, the late 20s. I think he's a good player who's very much deserving of a first round pick. But I think just, because of, Kayvon Thibodeau being there, because of Aiden Hutchinson being there, because of, DeMarvin Leal and Jordan Davis and just a stacked defensive line class, I think that you could see Ajabo fall a little farther than maybe he should. So, if you walk away with Kyle Hamilton and I don't even know his first name, but Ajabo, number 55 for Michigan, that's a great first round by the Lions. That gives you your pass rusher with high upside, a pass rusher that's proven, right? And maybe not as high of a ceiling as Thibodeau, but somebody that is just, relentless, that has a ton of effort, gives you everything he has every single play. And you walk away with arguably the best player in the country that gives effort, right? Arguably the most talented player in the country in Kyle Hamilton. So, I mean, we're going to get way more into this like during draft season. And if you can't tell, draft season is my absolute favorite time of the year. I love the actual season. I love watching the Lions and all of that. Speculating about draft season is my favorite part of all of this. But there's a lot of ways the Lions could go, and I'm so excited for it. But getting back like into the season, they're not that far. I think if I'm the Detroit Lions right now, if I'm Brad Holmes sitting at my desk watching, reviewing the season with Dan Campbell after week 17, after week 18 even, I think you sit down, and obviously I don't know how the last 5 games are going to play out, but you sit down and you say, what were the reasons that we lost those close games? And I think 2 of them, I think Minnesota and Baltimore, were due to the safety play. The safeties gave up big plays when they weren't supposed to. I think it's partially on the defensive coordinator as well. But I think, he's going to learn. Aaron Glenn is going to learn from his mistakes. And I think he has already learned from those mistakes. And I think, you say, okay, if we have a better playmaking safety who has more range and understands the game of football maybe just a little bit better and hasn't showed those mental lapses, we don't lose against Baltimore, right? If it's Kyle Hamilton there instead of Bobby Price against the Baltimore game, that pass is incomplete and maybe intercepted. If it's, Kyle Hamilton there instead of Will Harris at the end of the Minnesota game, that is, those passes down the field are probably not completed if they're attempted at all, right? You look at the Pittsburgh game, that was down to the kicker. Looks like they found their kicker in Riley Patterson. So there is another game that, you lost because of this. You fixed it. You look at the Cleveland Browns game, again, special teams mistakes. You got your special teams guy. You look at the Chicago game, right? The final drive, maybe you can say you didn't get that pressure. That's where Ajabo comes in. You can say, maybe the secondary didn't make your plays. That's where Hamilton comes in. And you can say, maybe the offense just is the reason we're not winning, right? The defense has played fine. The defense has played so many games and given the offense so many chances to win football games, and they haven't. And I think the argument for that is also real. I think you do need a wide receiver. I think you maybe even need 2 wide receivers. Start Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, and, Quintez Cephas maybe is one of those guys that rotates in. But if you get, a dominant true X wide receiver on the boundary, and then you rock with Quintez Cephas as your 2 and Amon-Ra as your 3, that's a solid starting 3. Maybe add a little bit more depth in there. Maybe you keep Craig Reynolds for comfortability. Maybe you keep, another young wide receiver you found in free agency or the draft. So get an X wide receiver with your second round pick, with your first pick in the second round at this point, right? And that might be maybe, I doubt Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson drops that far, but, maybe with the injury, that's John Mechie from Alabama. Maybe, it's David Bell from Purdue, who's been phenomenal for the Boilermakers this year. This wide receiver class is good. You can get a top tier, number 1 wide receiver with a second round pick this year. So, if you're talking, right, and this is hypothetical, that's a really good stop by the Lions, by the way. Great stop by Nickel Roby-Coleman. But, you're looking at this draft, and I'm kind of just putting together a mock draft right now, and maybe it's biased and maybe it's, not going to happen because a lot is going to change between now and the draft. But if you walk away from your first 3 picks with Kyle Hamilton, David Ajabo, And John Mechie, who admittedly is coming off an ACL tear, but who was still phenomenal. And I don't think really ever relied on his athleticism all that much. Like, I think he was just more of a route runner, technician kind of a guy anyway. That's a great 3 picks. Or, say you don't want John Mechie. Maybe George Pickens shows out in his final 2 games at Georgia. He shows out against Michigan and they come back and he has a great game against Alabama. George Pickens could put himself right there in that top wide receiver tier. He was there before he got hurt. How is he going to look after his injury? Maybe, I don't know, maybe an Ohio State wide receiver does fall. Maybe the need for a wide receiver just isn't there this year. And, a top tier wide receiver drops. Maybe you go with Chris Olave with your second pick. Maybe you go with Garrett Wilson with your second pick. There's so many opportunities to get a wide receiver to fix the offense. There's so many opportunities to get defensive studs to fix the defense. And at that point, right, I'd say if the Lions could add Hamilton as the safety, pair Hamilton with Tracy Walker, get Ajabo and pair him with the Okwara brothers and Charles Harris, that's a great rotation defensively, at least as edge rushers. You then go into the season with, Levi and Aleem McNeil and maybe one more interior defensive guy that you draft middle of the round or middle of the draft, right? And then you go in with Derek Barnes and Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Alex Anzalone. That's not a horrible linebacker room either. Like, that is a defense that I think can get you stops, can force you turnovers, and can keep you in a lot of games, just hypothetically. And then you go to the offense, and you have, your ex-wide receiver. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off a big rookie year. You got Quintez Cephas coming off a pretty good year before injury. You got your elite offensive line healthy again. You got DeAndre Swift, who's really good. You got a number of young running backs, including Jamal Williams, Godwin Igwebuike, Jamar Jefferson, and now Craig Reynolds, who have all made big-time plays for you this season. That's five young running backs under the age of 26 who have made plays for you this season. 3 of them are rookies. Like, there's a lot of young talent on this team. And I think if the Lions can add 1 or 2 big name players, right? They add that big wide receiver in free agency, right? That Devontae Adams, that Allen Robinson, that even Chris Godwin for some people. They add that top tier wide receiver. They add, a couple defensive pieces, and Jared Goff improves, like, even a little bit. If Jared Goff can play like he's played the last 2 weeks, all of next year, the Lions are in business. The Lions are not that bad of a team at that point. So, I mean, I know we're looking in the future. I know there's a lot of, what about this? What about that? But, you look at the Lions, there's a lot of good that they can do. Tom Kennedy making a really nice catch on 1st and 10. Like, Tom Kennedy, another guy that had a great camp and seems to be, kind of a guy that always sticks around. One Prop 40 says, hey, we got the ball. We do have the ball. So imagine Hamilton and Brandon Smith on this team. Like, that would be – I forgot about Brandon Smith. Is Brandon Smith – yeah, exactly. Or another guy I haven't even mentioned yet, and I'm not sure if he's eligible or not, is the linebacker from Alabama who has 15 sacks on the year, who was 5th in Heisman vote. Why is Craig Reynolds so good? Oh, my God. Okay, I mean, like, the Lions, they just keep finding gems. And, like, yeah, they're young, and yeah, they're inexperienced, but you give the Lions a year to grow as a team, develop that chemistry, grow as players, and kind of get adjusted to NFL speed with all this young talent. Like, the future is really bright for the Detroit Lions. And I know 1-10-1 is really bad right now, but I truly don't think the Lions are that far away, especially if they can run the ball like they're doing right now in every game. And it's not even just Craig Reynolds that's ran the ball really well. Jamal Williams has had some good games. DeAndre Swift went back-to-back 100-yard games against the Browns and the Steelers, 2 of the tougher defenses in the AFC. You got Jamar Jefferson averaging 13 yards a carry. He has yet to get a carry this game for one reason or another. But, a guy that's just, playing well. Jared Goff right now is 4 or 5 for a touchdown. Like, that's pretty good. Jamar might be on the field right now. I'm not entirely sure. It's either him or I think it's Godwin. Check out Jeremiah Johnson. I'm gonna look at everybody. It's early. I haven't even like really gotten my list yet for like players that I want to watch specifically. I know that I really want to watch Kyle Hamilton a bunch. I know I want to watch Jordan Davis. I know I want to watch DeMarvin Leal. I know I want to watch Hutchinson. I know like obviously the big name prospects, like anybody that could possibly go with top 5, I want to look at just in case. I want to scout a lot of the quarterbacks. But as draft season approaches, as we get like into the off season, I'm gonna kind of get more into that realm of like who's to watch, who's to look at. Dang, unfortunately, the Lions didn't quite get that first down. Godwin Igwebuike is pretty good. And I know I'm saying every player on the Lions is really good, but like they're such a young team. It's kind of ridiculous, like how much young talent they're going to have. They're going to have some tough decisions this year because they're not going to be able to keep everybody, but a lot of players have earned spots. Like if Craig Reynolds rushes for 100+ yards today, I don't see how you don't keep him around. Like Igwebuike has played so well this year as not only a returner, but also as a running back when he's gotten touches. I don't see how you don't keep him around. You have to keep DeAndre Swift. You have to keep Jamar Jefferson. You got to keep Jamal Williams. Like Jamar Jefferson seems like the odd man out, and he's averaging 13 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns on like 6 carries. I don't know what the Lions are going to do at the running back position next year, but whatever they're doing, it's really good. Offensive line-wise, I'd like to see them maybe add another player, but I think as soon as Matt Nelson comes back, I think their offensive line is pretty complete. With obviously the 5 starters and Matt Nelson as that backup tackle, I think you're pretty good. It looks like the Lions are going to go for it on 4th down, and they are going to get it, as you can see on the screen. What? Okay, a rollout pass to Khalif Raymond. Like, offensively, the play calling is getting much better. The play calling this week is significantly better than before, right? I feel like the offensive play calling is improving every single week. I feel like Jared Goff's getting more comfortable every single week. And the Lions are trending up. Like the beginning of the year, they weren't good. The beginning of the year, they were an inconsistent team. I just realized they still have the Oxford O on the back of their helmet. I hope they keep that the rest of the year. But they're improving. They're trending in the right direction. And even with all of these injuries, they don't even look that bad. It looks like Aaron Glenn took 2 drives to kind of deep shot, and it's a catch by Craig Reynolds. It looks like Aaron Glenn took a drive or 2 to figure out where the holes were in his defense this week, and then he fixed them. The Lions, I think, had 2 stops in a row. The offense took 1 drive and stuttered out of the gate, and now they're driving on the 2nd drive after going for a touchdown. It's crazy. The Lions, they're so competitive. They're so close, and they're doing this with a team of backups. Like, this should be the kind of team that you take over in Madden. This is the kind of team that Brad Holmes should turn on his Xbox and have. Like, you should turn on your Xbox and have, Craig Reynolds as your running back 1, Jared Goff as your quarterback 1, with, a rookie 4th round wide receiver, a rookie 4th round wide receiver, say that 5 times fast, as your number 1 option as a pass catcher, without a true star player anywhere other than the offensive line, a defense that's on their 3rd rotation of pass rushers and edge rushers, and is down to their 4th linebacker, relying on a 4th round pick there. Like, this is a Madden team. That was not a great throw by Jared Goff, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown should have caught it. This is a Madden rebuild team in real life, and they're giving like legit 500 teams, winning football teams, and teams that are vying for playoff spots real trouble every single week. And they've had bad games. Like, don't get me wrong. They showed up against Philadelphia and did not play well. They showed up against Cincinnati and did not play well. You take out those two games, tell me what game the Lions were just simply outplayed, outmatched, outcoached. Because I don't think there is one. You know, right? Their loss to Green Bay, I'd say the second half they were outcoached, but I don't think the first half they were. You know, I'd say San Francisco, but they made that game close at the end because they kept fighting and kept showing that heart. You know, you look at Baltimore. We've talked about Baltimore. We've talked about Minnesota. We talked about the Chicago loss. The Chicago loss, you had 3 turnovers in the red zone. Riley Patterson's really good. I'm sorry. Riley Patterson is really, really good. I'm sorry to stop my train of thought. But like this team is just trending in the right direction every single week. And at halftime, I want to go look at these losses. And I think every game the Lions have lost, with the exception of the Bengals and Eagles, if three plays a game go differently, the Lions win all of those games. And I'll explain more when I get to the halftime. But right now the Lions are, only trailing 4 points against a solid Denver Broncos team. A Denver Broncos team that's vying for a wild card spot and has a lot of talent on both sides of the football. One Pride says, I hope we get a uni change soon. I like the uniforms personally, and maybe that's just me being a homer, but I like the Lions uniforms. I like their blue. I like the blue and gray they have going on. I think their white and blue looks really good. I think their grays are okay. I don't love the gray uniforms, but I'm not sick of them. I think they're just okay. I don't think we're going to get a uniform change anytime soon. It's possible, but I'm not sure we're going to. But I don't mind the uniforms. I think the color rush, if we brought back the black uniforms, that would be sick. If Dan Campbell brings back some throwback and has the black unis, that would be awesome. Patterson is money. Patterson's really good. That was another good evaluation of talent by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. And I mean, he looks like the kicker of the future. With the Lions, he's 4 for 4. And they've all been long field goals. I mean, not super long, but that was 36. The one that he made against Minnesota was 49, 40s. I mean, he's money. He hasn't missed a kick yet for the Lions. My girlfriend's mad at me because the one time she tuned into this live stream, I was talking bad about her favorite player, Aiden Hutchinson. So that's fun. Just 2 games. I mean, yeah, it's 2 games. I get that. But he's only played 2 games. I believe he made his debut last week. And he's been money. He's been really good. Hey, Peyo time. What's going on, man? Last time we talked was before the Rams and Lions game. I told you the Lions were going to give your Rams some money, or as a run for their money, I should say. I told you that it was going to be a tough game for them. It was a fun game. It was really tough, really close. The Lions coached their butts off in that game. And unfortunately, they didn't come out with the win, but I bet you were sweating just a little bit. I'm doing well. I'm doing fantastic. I'm done with school for a while, so I just get to sit here and love my Lions a little bit more. What's going on, Peyo? Glad to see you back here, man. Glad to see you back. But yeah. So I mean, so far the live stream, not huge numbers, but I mean, I'm just here to have fun, man. I'm here to talk about the Lions. It's my second day back in over 2 months, so we'll take a little bit of time. I know some other people are live streaming today, so I got to compete with all that too. We'll get back to the numbers, but right now we're just here to talk Lions football. If you're here, I appreciate you all, and if not, well, hopefully you'll make it back here. Question: If you could have toast with one player on the Lions, who would you pick, and what would you put on your toast? I have no idea what I'd put on my toast. But if I could pick anybody, if I could pick any player on the Lions, part of me wants to say like TJ Hawkinson or DeAndre Swift because I love both of those players. Part of me wants to say Frank Ragnow because he just seems like such a cool guy to be with. Like he just seems like such a genuine person. Part of me wants to like, I don't know, just like meet the punter just because it'd be funny. Like that and Jack Fox is kind of the best player on our team right now. I don't know. I'd say Frank Ragnow because Frank Ragnow has been one of my favorite players on the Lions since he's been drafted. He seems like a really good, genuine person. Not to mention he's also the best player at his position in the world. I'd like to meet Frank Ragnow. I think he'd be really cool. And maybe that's a weird answer to like go for the center instead of like the quarterback or the running back. But I absolutely love Frank Ragnow. I think Frank Ragnow is my favorite player on the Lions. Roby Coleman is trash. Roby Coleman is not great. Nickel Roby Coleman is Aleem McNeil got another sack. That's great. The only thing that sucks about this stuff is like I see the play come through before I see the play on TV. That was really we got kind of half a sack. Charles Harris got there too. But like it kind of sucks that I have to see that before I see this. But I mean, hey, if we're getting sacks and forcing turnovers and pushing back, I'm okay with it. Aleem McNeil got a sack. And another thing I want to talk about, and there's so much like obviously being away for 2 months, I have so many thoughts. And I'm just kind of pushing them out here because I have a little bit of a platform and a couple people listening. Looking at this rookie class, that's a tackle for loss by Levi, and I think Charles Harris again got in there. Wow. But like this rookie class has been so good, right? Penei Sewell is graded as the top, I believe the second best tackle in football. Levi has made some real big impact plays, just got a tackle for loss right there. And had a sack against Chicago, has been close a couple other times, has some good tackles for loss. McNeil has multiple sacks. He has a couple different sacks this year and has some big tackles for loss as well. Ifiatu has been injury prone, hasn't been able to stay on the field, but has looked really good when he's been on the field. And the Lions get another third down stop, which is great. That was a good tackle by 31 and 51. But like Amon-Ra St. Brown's been great. Derek Barnes has been great. And after Derek Barnes, they didn't have anybody until Jamar Jefferson. And I think I've talked enough about Jamar Jefferson and his yards per carry today. I like this rookie class has been so good. As far as an evaluator of talent, I could not be happier with what Brad Holmes is doing. Like just all the talent that he's brought in, all the playmakers he's brought in, I could not be happier with what Brad Holmes has done with the Lions so far. Because everybody he brought in is great. And I think the 2021 Detroit Lions class might be the most impactful class, like immediately, that the Detroit Lions have ever seen. Right? I don't know if you can name another draft class where all 7 picks have seriously contributed to the team's success. And I know team success should be in quotation marks, but still, like I don't know if you can name another Detroit Lions class that has had this much impact this early. And like One Pride 40 says, this was kind of another thought I had was it reminds me of the Saints class in 2017 where you had, you got Marshawn Lattimore in the first round. You got Alvin Kamara in that draft. I believe their right tackle, who is now a starter and like a really quality starting right tackle, was in that class. That I think was their second round pick in that class. And like that class had an amazing impact early. They had both rookie of the years. I mean, just phenomenal talent up and down the draft. But even that, I don't think their draft class, and that was one of the better draft class in recent history, I don't think they have impacted I don't think that 2017 Saints team or that Saints draft class had as many impact players, like as a number, as the Lions do. Now, I think that the players' impacts were bigger, right? Obviously, 2 rookie of the years is great, but I don't think that even the Saints could say all 7 or 8 or their entire draft class from that year contributed heavily on that team. And it's not even just the drafted players because Jerry Jacobs is undrafted and he started multiple games. AJ Parker is undrafted. He started a lot of games. And who else was undrafted? I'm sure there was another undrafted free agents. I mean, who else? I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head. But like again, 2 cornerback undrafted free agents that are just playing really well and playing good football. Marcus Williams too, who is a free agent, and Trey Henderson. That's 2 more. Like phenomenal draft class by the Saints. To get off topic, payout time. If you're still here, how you feeling about this Cardinals matchup you guys got coming up? How you feel about Rams Cards this week? I know the Rams lost early, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll definitely be watching that since big announcement actually, and I will repeat this probably in every video, and I will put it on social medias. I will be at the Arizona Cardinals game, job shadowing as an NFL broadcaster. I will be with the people that call the Lions games in the booth. Definitely not on camera, so you won't see me, but I will be there for the Arizona Cardinals game, job shadowing an NFL broadcast team. And I am so excited, and I will update everybody throughout the day on how it's going. As Jared Goff on 2nd and 8 completes big. Wow, that was big. What did payout? I skipped payout time. I apologize. I'm really happy Josh Reynolds is doing well at the Lions. Do you think? I think he does get re-signed. I think he gets re-signed as probably a wide receiver 2, and if not, probably a wide receiver 4. Just depending on Quintez Cephas, right? I think him and Quintez are going to compete for that second boundary role, and I think the Lions are going to bring in a big-time player. But we'll see. I'm excited for Rams Cards game. I got a good feeling. That's really cool. You're going to the Lions Cards game. I'm so excited for that. Goff is 7-1 versus the Cards. Hope he beats them. I would love that. If Goff, that'd be great. If the Lions could just like dethrone the number 1 seed in the NFC, I'd be so happy. Like that would just, if that was our second win, if our wins were against like division rival Minnesota and the number 1 seeded Arizona Cardinals, that'd be amazing. That would be such a building point, and that'd be awesome. Although another thing I thought about the other day, which is really funny, is Matt Patricia never beat the Vikings, and he never beat the Bears. And his two, I guess, people that coached after him, Darrell Bevell, beat the Bears on his first try in his first game. And Dan Campbell beat the Vikings his second try. Like Matt Patricia was so bad against our division rivals, and Dan Campbell, his first win was against a division rival with a much, much less talented roster. So I'm pretty excited about that too. If the Lions, I mean, the way you win divisions is you beat your division opponents. That's the fastest way to win your division. Holy crap, we're agreeing on almost everything, which is scary. That is kind of scary. Oh, because me and One Pride 40 do not always agree on everything. We don't always see eye to eye. I think it's fair to say we always respect each other's opinions, but we definitely don't always see eye to eye. So the fact that we're doing that today is pretty scary. But, some days you're just, on the same wavelength as another person. And, some days that's just how it is. And I'm happy it's like that. Now, the Lions, after a really shaky start, have the ball on 3rd and 1. They've ran the ball so incredibly well this year, or not this week, by the way. And Josh Reynolds is at 60 yards on 7 carries. I would say give Josh Reynolds the ball right here. Like, you kind of have to run the ball. I would hope the Lions run the ball here. I think that's the best call that you can make. No play action, no fancy stuff. Give the ball to the guy who's having his best day and let him keep going. I would hope on this 3rd and 1 they run the football, and it looks like they do. Although it wasn't Josh Reynolds, or Craig Reynolds. Sorry, it was Godwin Igwebuike who gets this first down. But I mean, even Godwin's averaging what? Almost 4 yards a carry? 3.8 yards per carry, something like that. Like, I mean, he's even doing pretty well for himself. Does seeing what a horrible coach Urban Meyer is making does seeing what a horrible coach Urban Meyer is make you that much more thankful for a coach you can respect? It does. And part of, I don't want to say doing this job, because I don't think of this as a job so much as just a hobby that I get to do. But I think part of being somebody who shares their opinions about sports is you being wrong. And I'm not going to say I didn't want Urban Meyer as a head coach. You can go back and find the video that has me talking about Urban Meyer and why he'd be a good head coaching candidate in the NFL. I was part of that. I was part of the Saleh train. I was part of the Urban Meyer train. And right now, I can confidently say that I was wrong about Urban Meyer. I think Robert Saleh is a good coach still. I still have confidence in Robert Saleh that he's going to turn the Jets around, and I still think he would have done great with the Lions. I really do. But yeah, Urban Meyer was definitely a swing and a miss for me. I'm not going to even try to defend myself on that one. I remember when every Lions fans wanted him, not me. I wanted Saleh, but I might be eating crow. I mean, I think that Robert Saleh and Dan Campbell are pretty similar, and I wanted them for the same reasons, or I like them for the same reasons, I should say, because I think that both of those guys are just coaches that you want to play for. I think Dan Campbell and Robert Saleh are guys that you want to go on the field for and play for every single day. And that's the kind of coach I wanted after Matt Patricia. I wanted a guy that could, wow, Amon-Ra St. Brown lined up at running back. That was pretty crazy. But I wanted a guy that the players wanted to play for. And I think that the Lions have that. I think the Jets have that. And I would be happy with either. But having that hindsight, obviously, hindsight being 2020, there at this point is nobody I would rather have than there's nobody I'd rather have than Dan Campbell as my head coach. I would be happy with Robert Saleh, but I don't think any head coaching candidate fit this team in the mindset that this team wanted like I keep saying like Robert Saleh, like Dan Campbell did. I don't think any other coach fit what the Lions wanted the same way that Dan Campbell did. I think Dan Campbell was the Lions' first choice because he's just a guy that people love playing for. And at the end of the day, if your coach can't get your players to play hard, he's never going to be a good coach, right? Matt Patricia, for all of his flaws, was a smart guy. He was a smart coach that nobody wanted to play for. And that, I think, was a big reason why the Lions lost so many games in the Patricia era. Whereas Dan Campbell may not be the technical mind that Matt Patricia was. May not have all these fancy schemes and Super Bowl rings like Matt Patricia. But at the end of the day, he's a player, or he's a coach that players want to play for. And I think that's the first step to being a great head coach, is your players have to like you, because if your players don't want to listen and play for you, and if your players don't trust you, why should anybody else? Why should your rookies want to play for you if the veterans don't? Why should the fans root for you if the players don't even root for themselves? Why should, the city of Detroit and all its fans want the Lions to succeed if the players don't want to succeed? And I think that's absolutely not the case with Campbell. With Campbell, even being 1-10-1, this Lions team is, they are fighting hard. They are not backing down from any challenge that's been put in front of them. They are not backing down from anything that's been put in front of them. You look at all the excuses today, right? All the injuries. And then on top of all the injuries coming into the game, you lose Jerry Jacobs on the first drive, and you lose Alex Anzalone on the second drive. And the Lions are down by 4 points going into halftime, and they're going to get the ball coming out of halftime. Campbell is like that average-looking girl in your class, and if you give her a chance, she will run your world. That's a terrible analogy. That's a funny, and I like that. I like that analogy. That's funny. But it's not that far off. Like, Dan Campbell wasn't the flashy coach. Dan Campbell wasn't, the guy making all the headlines, wasn't the guy that everybody wanted. But now that he's here, and now that he's been given a chance, I don't know if any Lions fan, there's going to be Lions fans that argue regardless because that's what they like to do. But I don't know that many people that have given up on Dan Campbell that are like, this guy truly can't do his job. Because I think in the offseason you hear him, right? You hear his comments about kneecap biting. You hear his comments about, whatever. And you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy is just, he's dumb. He's a meathead and he doesn't know what he's doing. But, you get to the season and this team plays hard. This team plays games incredibly closely. And, mistakes have been made from, first-year players and first-year starters, as you could expect, right? Dan Campbell hasn't been perfect every game because he's young and learning. Aaron Glenn hasn't been perfect every game because he's young and learning. That was a great defensive play by Will Harris, by the way. Just shout out to 25, who I thought has played much better the past 3 games. I think Aaron Glenn has really, really, helped everybody in the secondary, but Will Harris, I think, has seen the biggest jump in just his level of play with Aaron Glenn being here. But like Anthony Pittman is on the field making plays. Like our 5th string linebacker is now starting because of that. I love this analogy. We're just going to keep going with One Pride 40. But, again, the whole Campbell thing, like everybody thought he was a meathead going into the season. Get to the season, his players are playing hard. His team is playing close to anybody and everybody. And there's little complaints other than the fact that teams seem to hit field goals versus the Lions. Not everybody wanted the toxic hot blonde. That was Urban Meyer, but didn't get the hot brunette. That's funny. I love this analogy that we just keep going with. But yeah, I like Urban Meyer was the flashy coach. Robert Saleh was the flashy coach. Even, Brian Dable was the flashy candidate. And the Chargers' new coach, who was the Rams defensive coordinator, was like the flashy guy. Less flashy than Saleh and Meyer, but still flashy. And somehow the one guy that nobody talked about is the one guy that, seems to be doing pretty well for himself. That is Dan Campbell. And, you give Dan Campbell some, I don't like that we're rushing one player, but I guess, are they going to run out of time? Oh, I guess they're going to spike it with 4 seconds left. That's okay. We'll see if they hit the field goal. But, hang on, I just want to hear this flag.
I bet somebody covered somebody else up. Oh, no, they're saying offsides defense. Oh, that was excellent execution.
I don't know.
Teddy Bridgewater and this whole offense to get up.
We'll see. We'll see what this flag is. But, so far, talking about Dan Campbell, I am incredibly impressed. I think he's done a great job with what he's been given. I think Dan Campbell's had to face more adversity this year than maybe any first-year coach ever, right? I mean, with one, all the media scrutiny, two, with all the injuries, three, with COVID still being a big factor and obviously, being detrimental to the team this week. I don't know if you can name another first-year head coach that has inherited this bad of a roster, this poor of a franchise, or at least this losing of a franchise, with all that adversity and has had a good first year. Like every odd was stacked against Dan Campbell. And so far, he's not done that bad. Like record-wise, you might say he's not great, but they've been so close. And you give him even his whole roster back, right? You give him his roster healthy, and I think they beat Baltimore. I think they beat Minnesota. I think they beat Chicago both times with a fully healthy roster. Like the Lions, even right now on paper, are not that bad of a football team. And we're going into halftime right now. Jared Goff, 9 for 14, 70 yards and a touchdown. Not too bad. We'll go over statistics really quickly. And then we'll get to the games. But right now, Jared Goff is 9 for 14 for 70 yards and a touchdown. He's taken 1 sack for 8 yards and has a 100 quarterback rating, which is really good for Jared Goff especially. Craig Reynolds is averaging 8.6 yards per carry on 7 touches. He needs to get Craig Reynolds needs 10 touches, 10 rushing attempts in the second half at a minimum. Jamar Jefferson is yet to get a touch, but I'd hope to see that in the second half. I want to see the Lions run the ball a little bit more. But right now as a team, they have 11 rushes for 84 yards. Khalif Raymond, 3 for 23 and a touchdown. Nobody's having a great receiving day, but I mean, at the same time, I don't think anybody is having that bad of a receiving day. I guess maybe you'd say Amon-Ra is having, 6 targets, only 3 catches, but I mean, nobody's really that bad. Like no fumbles yet. Josh Woods is our leading tackler. We have 1 pass deflection by Will Harris. We have 3 quarterback hits, 1 by Aleem McNeil, and a couple others that aren't quite showing up, I guess. We have 2 TFLs from Charles Harris and Aleem McNeil. Levi got in there as well on one of them. Aleem has the sack as well as that. But, they're playing a clean game. They're playing a super clean game at halftime. They're down by 7 when they very well could have crumbled after the first 2 drives and been down by multiple scores. They're doing really good. And if we go to Pro Football Reference, that's not quite what I meant. I meant that PFR. And we go to Detroit. You could tell I use this website a lot. Right. By the way, this is the Lions Week 14 injury report. You can't see it because I'm on the screen. This is the Lions Week 14 injury report, in case you were curious. It includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 players, including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 starters. 14 starters on the injury report this week, just in case you were curious about that. But this is what I wanted to touch on at halftime. Excuse my cough. I'm still getting over just a little bit of a sickness, but we're here. You look at San Francisco, a 6-6 team right now, maybe 7-6. I don't know how their game went today. They lost by 1 score. They lost by 1 score to Baltimore by 2 points. They had 3 turnovers in the red zone, 2 turnovers in the red zone, and a failed 4th down conversion in the red zone against the Chicago Bears, and they lost by 10 points on a sucky, rainy day in Chicago. They come back, they lose by 2 points on a game-winning field goal to Minnesota. They skip the Bengals game, and they prepare for the Rams. They lose, yes, by 11 points, or not even 11. They lose by 9 points to the Rams, but that game was closer than 9 points. It really only got out of hand, I mean, at the very end after Goff threw that interception. But, with, 5 minutes left, the Lions were in the Rams red zone, trailing by a point, and they were giving the Rams everything they could handle. Again, they skip 2 weeks and they move right to Pittsburgh because, week 8 and week 6 didn't happen. And they tie the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were not a bad franchise. They tie not tie, but they are within 3 points of the Cleveland Browns. They are within 2 points of the Chicago Bears with 1 turnover this time. And despite 2 turnovers versus Minnesota, they win that game. So you go here, let's just, in a hypothetical situation, Justin Tucker doesn't make NFL history. That is a win on the Lions board. And I'm going to go only to games that were decided by, I'll say 3 plays. 3 plays or less if they decided the game, I will talk about. This game was decided by the last play. This game was decided by 3 plays in the red zone. The fumble, the interception, I think they were both fumbles. Both turnovers by Jared Goff in the red zone that were both fumbles, and the 4th down conversion. You score a touchdown on any of those 3 drives and a field goal on another, which you were in the red zone, so it's a pretty automatic field goal, you win or at least are tied in that game. So that game was decided by 3 individual plays. That's 2 games. The Minnesota Vikings game was decided by 1 play at the very end. That is 3 games. The Los Angeles Rams game, if Jared Goff does not throw that interception and the Lions continue to run the football, I believe the Lions win that game. I think the turnover was the play that won and lost the Lions that game, that won the Rams that game and lost the Lions that game. I know it's in 9 points. I know it's 2 possessions. But if the Lions score that touchdown and they bleed off a little bit more clock before doing so, I think they win that football game. That's 4 games decided by less than 3 plays. This game, you miss an extra point. That is the only play that mattered. That's 5 games decided by 3 plays or less. The Browns, you lose by 3. You had 2 turnovers. You had, a couple special teams miscues. I believe maybe they missed an extra point. Maybe they didn't. I'm not sure. But, that game was decided by 3 points, and the Lions missed so many opportunities in that game. That's 6 games. The Chicago Bears game, the double timeout, the 1 play that really hurt the Lions. Now, I think penalties really hurt the Lions in this game because I think there was 10 penalties, 11 penalties for a really, really bad amount of yardage. But if you take out that double timeout and you just let the Bears score on that play, we might see 2 game-winning drives by Jared Goff in 2 weeks. That game was decided on a game-winning field goal. That's 7 games that were decided by less than 3 plays in each game. And then you have the Minnesota game that the Lions won. So, right now, if you were counting at home, the Lions, 10 of their losses, or they have 10 losses, 7 of their 10 losses were decided by 3 plays or less in a football game. 4 of their losses were decided essentially by luck. I mean, obviously skill of the player, but at this point in the NFL, making a field goal is not always guaranteed. They got unlucky with the Baltimore kick. They got unlucky with the Minnesota kick. They got unlucky with the Pittsburgh kick. They got unlucky with the Bears kick. It happens. Kickers make field goals. The Lions, if they have 3 plays go different in every single game, They have 8 wins on the season. Just 3 plays a game. And I know that you can look at that and say, okay, well, the fact remains that they didn't make that team, or they didn't make that play. They didn't stop the Ravens before that field goal. They didn't stop Minnesota before that field goal. They did throw that interception versus the Rams. They did not make these plays. But they're close. And if you add a little bit of talent to this lackluster on paper roster, I think the Lions win at least half those games, if not more. Right? If you have Kyle Hamilton on the roster, I think you beat Baltimore because I don't think Kyle Hamilton gives up that big play. If you have a healthy roster, if you have Jeff Okudah out there instead of Bobby Price, I don't think Baltimore makes that pass to get in field goal range. I don't think Minnesota makes those passes to get in field goal range. If you don't turn the ball over and you just run the ball, I don't think Chicago wins that game. I don't think that, Los Angeles wins that game if you just keep running the ball. Pittsburgh, you make an extra point, you win the game. Cleveland, you make a field goal, you win the game. Chicago, or not Chicago, second Chicago game, you're close. I'm just saying, the Lions aren't that bad. Now, Dr. Detroit is in the building. Says, hey, kiddo, how was college? It is phenomenal. It is an absolute blast. Have fun. Stay safe. How's the choker Stafford doing? Just like I said, Stafford. Stafford is currently leading the Rams into a playoff race. They've had some rough weeks. I'm not gonna lie. They've had some bumps in the road, but at the same time, Stafford's still in the playoff race. So we'll see. We will see. I really would like to talk about how the Lions are doing without Matthew Stafford, but that's besides the point. Can't beat good teams. I mean, we'll see, I guess, today. We will see today. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a good team. So we'll see. I agree. You don't draft a safety at number 1, dude. Never been done. That would be an SOL move. You mean Thibodeau or Hamilton? And back to the draft conversation. I think that Kyle Hamilton, is worthy of the number 1 pick. I think he's talented enough. I think he is shown enough to be worthy of the number 1 pick. The only thing that is keeping him from being the number 1 pick is the fact that he plays safety. It has nothing to do with his talent. It has nothing to do with his injury history. It has nothing to do with his stat sheet. It has nothing to do with anything Kyle Hamilton has done wrong. It had not even anything to do with off-the-field issues. Kyle Hamilton has done everything right at Notre Dame. It just so happens that he plays the safety position, and the safety position has never been taken number 1 overall. Now, the Lions need a safety. The Lions also need talent. I understand that safety has never been taken at number 1. And if the Lions win a couple more games and they sit at number 2, number 3, I think taking Kyle Hamilton becomes a much better idea for Lions fans. I think Lions fans are going to be much more accepting of Kyle Hamilton at 4 or at 3 than they are at 1, even though they're getting the exact same player. Now, a safety, I know it's never been done. The highest is 3, and that's just a couple. I understand that. He says, so you don't take a safety over a right end or a left end. I understand that. But I don't feel comfortable taking Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau. Aiden Hutchinson has had 1 good year, and it's been a great year, admittedly. But I don't think Aiden Hutchinson, 1, I've heard quotes, and I'm not entirely sure because I didn't hear them from the interview, but I've heard people tell me that Aiden Hutchinson said that he had never really been a Lions fan and doesn't really want to come to Detroit. And if he doesn't want to be here, I don't really want him. And number 2, Kayvon Thibodeau is injury prone and does not have the greatest work ethic, which really, really scares me. Now, right now, if you're looking at players I will take Aiden Hutchinson over Kayvon Thibodeau. And if Aiden Hutchinson is willing to come here, like if he really wants to play, I would be okay with it. And maybe I didn't get out the whole quote because I see that Dr. Detroit says, he said he'd give it his all. And if he's giving his all, good for him. I don't know how he would play in a different scheme because Michigan and Detroit run different schemes. One runs a 4-3, one runs a 3-4, one runs a 4-3. So I don't know. I think he's very scheme dependent. I really do. And I think that this defensive line class is good enough where you can pass on a top pass rusher, and in the middle of the first round, you can still get a good one, like David Ajabo, like Jordan Davis, a couple other guys here and there. The Purdue kid is really good. The linebacker from Alabama is really good. It's a good edge class. And I think you can pass on Hutchinson to take Hamilton. And I think you can absolutely pass on Kayvon to take Hamilton. I would also take Hamilton. I would absolutely take him. If they're sitting at 3, I won't. If they're sitting at 3, I would absolutely take it. As the Lions fumble, unfortunately, I'll go back to this real quick, and I'll hit F11, and then we'll go to Gamecast. Let's see. I will get back to it in just a second. I just want to see if he fumbled this ball. Oh, yeah, he fumbled the ball. That is not good. That really sucks. Anyway, Hutchinson would not be bad. I will need more time to evaluate Aiden Hutchinson as a player. But right now, for me, it's between Kyle Hamilton and Jordan Davis. Aiden Hutchinson's not a bad player. I just have concerns about how he is going to fit with the Detroit Lions. Thibodeau, yeah, I agree with those comments. Thank you. At least we agree on something. So we are close. I just can't take Hamilton over Hutchinson, but I do agree with your thoughts. Oh, so good. We're not all disagreeing. And if I watch Aiden Hutchinson and I can see that, he is scheme versatile, right? He's a great pass rusher. And at the end of the day, I think that is important. Like that you're just one. At the end of the day, scheme doesn't matter if you're not a good pass rusher. And he's a great pass rusher. I think he wins with power. I think he can win with speed. And I do like Aiden Hutchinson. I like his energy. And I know it kind of sounded like I was talking bad about Aiden Hutchinson earlier. I think he's a great player. I don't know if I would pass on a generational safety talent when the Lions need a safety and have some decent pass rushers when, I don't think I'd pass on that generational safety at a position of need for an above average college left end when the edge class is really good. I think Kyle Hamilton is far and away the best safety in this class. And I think Aiden Hutchinson is just an above average pass rusher from college football. Like, I don't think Aiden Hutchinson compares to Chase Young. I don't think he compares to the Bosa's. I don't think he compares to Myles Garrett. He doesn't compare to, Von Miller, to go back a little farther. I don't think he's that generational pass rusher to go number 1 overall. And like I said earlier, I want a proven talent at number 1. I want somebody with a high ceiling and a high floor. And I think Aiden Hutchinson has both of those things, but he's also shown injury concerns. Whereas my player in Kyle Hamilton has been productive every single year he's been in college. He has shown attributes that very few players at his position have ever had, as far as just like height, weight, speed, playmaking ability. He has been productive. He has never missed a game. He has been healthy his entire career for the most part. He's never had a major injury. And I just think there are so many green flags and so many reasons to draft a generational talent. that I just don't think you can pass on Kyle Hamilton. Now we'll see what the Lions do. I don't think either one would be a bad move. And if it sounds like that, I don't think that. I think whether we draft Hutchinson or whether we draft Hamilton, both players would absolutely improve this team. But I think that if you can get Hamilton and David Ojabo with your 2 picks, right? A player with, at number 1 and Kyle Hamilton, who's very clearly a top 5 player in the class, and you get David Ojabo with your other pick, I think that that's a really good first round for you, right? You get your pass rusher who's been productive, and you get your generational safety talent. There's both. You get your high motor edge rusher who's put up double-digit sacks in college, who has shown a lot of really good things. And, you have that right there. Plus, you get your safety. And I will take Kyle Hamilton and David Ojabo over Aiden Hutchinson and anybody else. That's just my personal take on it. So who's Dean? What's Dean's full name? Because I'm not entirely sure who you're talking about. So Dr. Detroit, if you could leave Dean, like whatever his full name is, I'll check him out and I'll see. But personally, I will take Hamilton and Ojabo over Hutchinson and anybody else. Even though I think Hutchinson is a good player. I think Hutchinson and Okwara would be great together. I think they'd be a great pass rushing duo. But I don't know. And I will have to look into it more. I will have to watch a lot more. I have not watched tape. I have not watched film. I have not watched anything other than the live football games themselves on either of those players. And obviously, I haven't really watched a ton other than live Lions games. I haven't, gone back and seen everything that's wrong with this team, but I will. And when I get there, when I identify the biggest weakness for the Lions, whether it be safety or pass rush, I think that'll help make a decision better. When I actually have the time to sit down, that'll make a better decision. And I think both players would be great. I think both players would be phenomenal, personally. But, we'll see. And we'll talk about it a lot more as the draft approaches. Now, back to the game. The Lions just gave up a touchdown after Godwin Igwebuike fumbled the ball. Now, I'm not saying he should be benched after the fumble, but I think you give more carries to Craig Reynolds, and I think you give Justin Jefferson a chance. Now, Justin Jefferson might be injured in this game because he didn't practice during the week. He wasn't inactive. He's in pads. But he might also be feeling the effects of the flu. So that could be a reason he's not getting carries right now. I'm not saying that is what is happening. I'm just saying that is a possibility. So there's that. God, I'm so excited to get into watching players again. It's going to be so fun. Let's see. Oh, a linebacker. I mean, I don't think our linebackers are that bad though. Like I think Alex Anzalone's been playing really well. I think Derek Barnes is super bright. And those are your 2 linebackers. And then I think Jalen Reeves-Maybin's a fine number 3. I don't know if you take a linebacker in the first round because I don't think you need a linebacker in the first round. Honestly, like that's just my opinion. I don't think our linebacker core is that bad to the point where you take one in the first round. Second, third to build depth, sure. But I think there are bigger needs on this team than linebacker, mainly safety, mainly edge rusher across from Romeo, mainly wide receiver. And I think that there are a lot of positions that you need more than linebacker. And I think our linebackers are good enough right now to where we can wait a day or 2 to take them. Oh, as the Lions back up to a 2nd and 19. Fantastic. What happened? Was it holding? I bet it was holding. Oh, actually, it was just a sack. Okay. There you go. Well, that's interesting. All right, Jared Goff takes his second sack of the game. The Lions got to start digging their way out of this. I mean, I know it's only 14. I know it's only 2 scores. But I don't know, man. Oh, and they're going backwards again. This is not a good start. I think Frank Ragnall's been a huge loss for this team. Like a lot of the sacks that have been given up, both sacks today have come from the interior. And I don't know. I feel like Frank Ragnow is a bigger loss than just the center. That just means I'd rather get a DN and linebacker than a safety uh, and wide receiver. I mean, it depends. Like I think linebacker is probably the fourth need. I think it goes, safety, wide receiver, defensive end, linebacker. But that's just how I personally evaluate those positions, or the positions on the Lions. Now the Lions got 4th and 2. Frank Ragnow literally is the center of this team. That is so true. That is a good throw by Jared Goff. I wonder if you go for it here on 4th and 2. If you just give the ball to Craig Reynolds and run it, it looks like they're staying on the field. That was a great throw by Jared Goff. Just over the linebacker, just before the DB, right into the hands of Josh Reynolds. That was a great throw. Now, if Josh Reynolds can extend that a little bit and get the first down, that's better. But we'll see. Okay, yeah. So we just see it a little bit differently. I see safety, wide receiver, DN linebacker. You see DN linebacker. Let's see. All right, come on, Jared. Make a play for us, bud. Oh, it's a fake. It's okay. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's batted down. Well, that sucks. Unfortunately, that's probably a ball game. I know it's early, but unless the Lions can force a turnover, I think that's ball game. I don't mind the idea to throw it. Personally, I really, really don't. I mean, you don't expect Draymond Jones to jump up and hit it with his head. Hit him right in the face. I don't know if it was open or not. I don't mind the call. I don't think it was a bad call. It's just, one player on the Broncos making a better play. So we'll see. But unfortunately, that might end up being the ball game. Now, I still want Craig Reynolds to get some touches. Craig Reynolds, I don't know. I think he has 1 touch for 5 yards in the second half. I think you need to give the ball to Craig. Give Craig the ball because he's really, really good. But I think the Lions need to turn over here. I really do. And I know they're depleted, and I know they're so lacking right now of just 1 talent, but 2 starters overall. Like, you can just see it. I mean, it doesn't help that Jamal Williams is a monster, first off, but I don't know. I don't think this team is this far off. I just think that it sucks that we have to wait, essentially a pointless next 5 weeks. I mean, longer than that because you still got playoffs and Super Bowl, but it sucks that this team has to take the field with all the injuries that they have. But at this point, it's just, identify who stays, right? I think Jalen Elliott's had a solid game. I think Dean Marlowe's had a solid game. Will Harris, I thought's played very well. Charles Harris is staying. He should at least. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll absolutely see how this team goes. But I mean, I think with another really good draft class, like the one that Brad Holmes just had, and maybe just a solid, like average free agency with a big splash, and I think the Lions can be a playoff team next year. I really do. I don't know what their schedule looks like. Oh, the Broncos scored again. That's game. Unfortunate. But, yeah, well. What are you going to do? I mean, starters versus backups, that's how it should be. Until it should be. This game, I guess, probably won't be close, but that's okay because I didn't. I mean, I thought the Lions had a chance, but it was a slim chance. The Broncos are a good football team. They're a talented football team on both sides of the ball. The Lions aren't right now. The Lions are, I mean, what's their starting roster look like? The Lions starting defense right now is, I mean, Josh Woods, Will Harris, Jalen Elliott, Dean Marlowe, Derek Barnes, Jesse Lemonier, Nikel Roby-Coleman, Michael Brockers, C.J. Moore, Ali McNeil, Charles Harris, Levi Onwuzurike. Like that's your starting defense. You want to know how many of these players would start on other teams? Not Josh Woods, not Will Harris, not Jalen Elliott, not Dean Marlowe. Derek Barnes, I think, would get a lot of playing time on other teams, but I don't think he'd start. I don't even know who Jesse Lemonier is. Nikel Roby-Coleman wouldn't. Michael Brockers would. C.J. Moore wouldn't. Aleem probably wouldn't. Charles Harris wouldn't. And Levi wouldn't. There's one starter playing today, and it's Michael Brockers. The Lions are literally playing with, I think Levi, Aleem, and Charles Harris are all really good. But, you look at the team, like Amani Oruwariye doesn't actually have a statistic yet. He's been very quiet. His side of the field, in fact, he's been very quiet. But, they're playing with two starters. They're playing with two starting quality and two starting caliber players. And that's Amani Oruwariye, who has been targeted, I think, once, and Michael Brockers. Because I don't think Levi's a full-time starter. I think he's a rotational guy. I think Aleem McNeil is a starting nose tackle, but he's always going to be quiet. But, look at the talent the Lions are putting out right now. And some of it's through injuries. Some of it's because of Matt Patricia. And, at this point, the Lions don't have the talent. At this point, the Lions are being out-talented by everybody. Because they're the least talented team in football on paper. And it doesn't help that, Alex Anzalone is now out of the game. It doesn't help that Jerry Jacobs left the game after, the third play. How well do we expect the Lions to play this week? I said they had a chance before they lost 3 starters in this game. So, the game isn't over. You still have a quarter and a half. But if the Lions don't turn it around soon, they might be out of it. And it kind of stinks because, Jared Goff's having a solid day. Craig Reynolds is having a great day. The defense, the rush defense, is not playing very well. But I don't know. It's frustrating. It is. The Denver Broncos are set to kick off here. And Godwin is going to let it bounce in the end zone. I think the Lions need a touchdown here. They need to bring some momentum back the way of them. And if not, I think that touchdown was kind of over. I think that turnover was really the big thing that really hurt. Right? And I think that, I don't know, it just kind of stinks because I don't think anybody as an individual has had a bad game. I think Dan Campbell's called a good game. I think that Jared Goff's playing well. I think that, the offensive line, especially the tackles, have played well. That might be another turnover, but I think he's down. It looked like he was down. Like, these are all backup players. That, I don't know. They might call that a fumble. They didn't. But, like, Brock Wright is a backup. Craig Reynolds is a backup. Our center is a backup. They're challenging the play on the field. I I don't know. Like, how do the Lions win with this kind of talent? I don't think they can. There's a reason they're 1-10-1. It's because they're playing backups. Brock Wright is came into the season as the third string tight end. I don't know what to do. I guess I don't. It doesn't matter what I want to do, but I don't know. I kind of am at a loss for words because the Lions are just being out talented. That's simply what it is. So let's see. As of right now, like, Jared Goff is having a solid game. Craig Reynolds is having a good game. The defense is not, like, the rush defense kind of isn't very good, right? I mean, 28 for 147 and 3 is pretty bad for a rushing defense, but it's really just kind of the one area the Lions are struggling in this week. And I mean, the pass rush isn't doing anything because they're not passing. Like, Teddy's just being an efficient quarterback. And I mean, this week it just kind of is what it is. So sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself. I just feel like there's not much to really talk about at this point. They're in a commercial break. And I mean, the Lions are being out talented at this point. They simply are. So let's see. What can we look forward to next week? I know we play the Arizona Cardinals next week because I'm going to be at that game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We have the Arizona Cardinals at home. I think that the Lions, I mean, if they're fully healthy, like if Hawkinson comes back, if Swift can come back, if Tracy Walker and Jamal Williams and all of them can come off the COVID list, I think we'd have a chance. If Jerry Jacobs is healthy too. Atlanta, I think we can beat Atlanta and Seattle. I know they're both away games, but I think we can beat both of those teams. Like, I think there's 2 more winnable games on the schedule. I think the Lions can finish, 3-12-1 or 3-13-1. Yeah. So, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. 1st and 10 for the Detroit Lions on their own 36. See, they run the ball with Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds gets like 7 yards. It's crazy. So they didn't rule it a fumble for the Lions. The Lions still do have the football. I don't think it should have been a fumble. It looked like the ground forced it. It looked like, Wright still had pretty solid possession. But, yeah. So Craig Reynolds, 72 on 9 carries. They should have been feeding Craig Reynolds a little bit more, in my opinion. But it is 2nd and 3 for the Detroit Lions with 5:45 left. They went back to another commercial break, which is great. This is absolutely riveting content here. The Lions are down by 21 points. They're going to need a big quarter and a half if they want to come back. But I think all they can do here is they have to drive down. They have to score here. And if they can go into the 4th quarter down just 2 scores, I think that they have a chance. I really do. And I think they need a score here, and they need a turnover. I don't know if the game is over yet, right? Because, there's still so much time to play that anything can happen. But the Lions are going to need a big quarter from themselves. Dan Campbell's gonna really need to step up as a play caller, and we're gonna need a big quarter from the Detroit Lions this week, this quarter and a half. But bright spots of the game. I mean, I know we're losing by 3 touchdowns, but Jared Goff looks solid. Craig Reynolds looks really good. I mean, Abani Oruwariye hasn't really been tested at all today. You got, Aleem McNeil, Charles Harris, and Levi, I thought have all made some really good plays. So, I mean, as far as the rookies and the young guys, like that's a good sign for your 2 rookie defensive tackles who are playing side by side this week. Kicker Riley Patterson, 1 for 1, great guy, great player. Jack Fox, 1 punt for 53 yards, or 2 punts for 106, averaging 53. I mean, there's not a lot of bright spots, but there are bright spots. So, I'd also like some comments. We haven't had comments in a while. Come on, guys. Let's talk some Lions football. I got to maybe bring somebody else on here for it. But, yeah. I think the only thing that really was a letdown by the Lions this week was their run defense. I mean, you go into this game knowing the Denver Broncos want to run the ball, and the Denver Broncos have done that. They've ran for 28 times. Taylor Decker caught the ball. Taylor Decker has a reception. That's nice. But, Denver has 28 rushes for 147 yards and 3 touchdowns. And that's been the difference maker in the game, unfortunately. I like that Taylor Decker caught that pass. That was a nice thing to see. That's, I think, his second career reception. First one was a touchdown. So it's 3rd and 5 for the Detroit Lions. I can see that they picked up 3 yards on this play, and it looks like it was Godwin. So, I mean, their running game is good this week. Like, their running game is getting solid yardage. They're picking up yards when they need to. I would go for it on 4th down because they kind of have to. And I would run the ball if I were the Lions. I wouldn't pass. I wouldn't, have that option or the ability to have your pass deflected like we've seen multiple times today. If I'm the Lions, I go for this, and I give the ball to 46. I give the ball to whoever is playing the best, and I let him do what he's done all day. And that's average, 8 yards a carry. Run the ball. And you pick up a 1st down. Like, look at that. That's magic. Look at that. So I think the Lions, I think how this game could have gone differently is the Lions needed to rely on their run game a lot more, right? I think, when you're averaging 9 yards a carry as a running back, you shouldn't get 9 carries. You should get, 20 carries a game if you're going to average that much per rush. And even though we're down 3 scores, I still think the Lions can run the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown now lines up as the running back, kind of in a similar way Golden Tate used to. Runs an option route out of the backfield. I mean, gets a solid 8-yard pickup. I do like how the Lions are using Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like that he's kind of that utility tool. He's a guy that can line up in the slot, a guy that's lined up on the boundary, a guy that even has lined up at running back at times this year and has, had some success there. Obviously, just running that option right out of the backfield. I do like how the Lions are using Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that early in the season, they kind of only used him as a slot wide receiver, and now they're using him as kind of a gadget player, but kind of just, an all-around Golden Tate role, if you will, which is the guy that he was compared to coming out of college. Now, that's a pass that needs to be hit. Jared Goff missed that pass on 2nd and 1, and that's a pass that needs to be completed. And unfortunately, it was not. It was open. Jared Goff, if he hits it, it might be a touchdown, and I think Goff probably knows that. And unfortunately, it wasn't. Now, I want to see the Lions run the ball here on 3rd and 1. I want to see Craig Reynolds get the ball, and I want to see them pick up this 3rd down. because they can. They've run the ball almost at will all day. And that's what they do. Craig Reynolds gets the ball and gets the first down. So the Lions continue to stay alive. I mean, they're still fighting. They're still playing hard. 46 comes off the field. It looks like there's going to be an incomplete pass here next. I haven't seen it just yet. But, yeah. Craig Reynolds' first 2 seasons, 2 touches, 7 yards. Today, 10 touches, 75 yards. That's quite a jump. So first and 10. It looks like it's going to be second and 10. Let's see what happens. Jared Goff does take a deep shot to the end zone and, again, just overthrows his wide receivers. I don't know what's going on with Jared Goff today. I don't know if he's still feeling the flu a little bit because I know he's been sick most of the week. I mean, good route by Raymond. He had a step. If Goff puts that in bounds, it's a touchdown. Goff, I mean, is just kind of off a little bit right now. Not to rhyme on purpose, but unfortunately, Goff is just not making some of these passes. I like the play calling. The play calling has been really good today. As Amon-Ra St. Brown has another, solid reception. Out of the backfield again. They're using him kind of as a receiving back today. And then, on 3rd down and 1, I want Josh Reynolds to get the ball. And I'm going to be repeating a record because it's continuing to work. It's kind of crazy that Amon-Ra St. Brown only has 28 yards in this game because I feel like his impact's been bigger than that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we got right now. And I think the Lions, they need a score here. They need to run the ball with Josh Reynolds or whoever's at running back. That works too. We can give it to Jason Kabinda because he can get the first down just as easily. Flag on the play. It was holding.
Holding, offense number 74.
74. The 3rd string center was holding. Really unfortunate. I mean, good pickup by the Lions. Now it's 3rd and 10. And the Lions, they can't take a field goal here. They need a touchdown on this drive. I would expect a shot play to be coming. I would hope for there to be players beyond the first down mark. But we'll see. I mean, it's 3rd down and 10. The Lions false start and go back another 5 yards. It looks like Taylor Decker's the one to false start. So they move back to 3rd and 15 on a drive that looked really promising. And now they need a first down. They need a touchdown on this drive. And the Lions are going the wrong direction. So we'll see what happens. It looks like the Lions got a lot of it back. They get back 11 yards. Another great catch by Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was lined up in the slot, I believe, on this play. Yeah. Makes a person miss and picks up, 11 yards. I would assume the Lions are going to go for this because they kind of have to. There's 24 seconds left. And they're going to let the quarter run out, and they're going to talk about what they want to do on this 4th down conversion. So, the Lions, the thing is, like I've been saying the whole time, the Lions haven't played that bad. I know that it's 31-10, but I feel like the game is not, a 3-score domination by the Broncos. I feel like it's just, a game where the Denver Broncos rushing attack is just playing really well. And the Lions being depleted everywhere on the team can't keep up. The Lions backups cannot and should not have to compete with the starters on any NFL team, let alone a pretty solid team in the Denver Broncos. I mean, Denver's 6-6 in a division with the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Raiders. And I mean, they play in a real tough AFC. They've played some very good teams this year. Denver's a good team. Like, they're not a pushover. They're not a, 3-win team like maybe the last couple of years. Like, they've gotten a lot of talent on this team over the past couple of years. And I think the only thing holding Denver back is the quarterback play, right? I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is the guy that is safe. Teddy Bridgewater is the guy that just, I mean, he is efficient. He's right now 13 of 19 for 128 and a touchdown, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not a player that can extend plays like that. He's not a guy that when everything goes wrong, he can make it right. He's not an elite top 10 quarterback. And I think if you give the Broncos a top 10 quarterback, then they're going to be, a 10, 11, maybe even 12-win team. Like, they can make the playoffs. They can make a deep playoff run with good quarterback play because everybody else on the team, everywhere else on the roster is good. They are. They're really, really good. So, I mean, yeah, I know Denver's 6-6, and I think if the Lions are fully healthy with DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson and Frank Ragnow and, X, Y, and Z player on the roster that are healthy, I think that this game is close, if not won by the Detroit Lions. But unfortunately, it looks like they're lining up to go for this on 4th down. We'll see what happens. The Lions are currently at the Broncos 34. Empty formation in the backfield. Jared Goff gets the snap, drops back, looks, finds Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gets the first down and gets out of bounds, but not without a push. Amon-Ra gives a little finger point, and I believe there was a flag for a late hit on St. Brown. There was a late flag that came in. It looked like St. Brown was hit a little bit late. And, the Lions picked up a 4th down conversion again. They got a big play, and I think the penalty is going to add on a little bit more yardage. It is unnecessary roughness on defense number 30 of the Denver Broncos. So, the Lions down 3 scores are not giving up. They're still fighting in this game. Amon-Ra actually ran a really good route, forced some contact, that was a really good route. Really good play design by Dan Campbell. And Amon-Ra, as he stepped out of bounds, got pushed, did a little somersault, got up and pointed, and, was just the better player. So, Lions now sitting at 1st and goal. I think you run this ball. I think you give it to 46. Or, you give a toss to Igwebuike, who gets in. Oh, just kidding. He actually fumbled the ball. Let's hope he stepped out. Okay, if this is Godwin's second fumble, I think you bench him for the game. And Penei Sewell is also now on the ground hurt. Well, I know what Godwin's going to be working on for I think he's out of bounds, though, before he fumbles it. I think his foot is out of bounds before he fumbles the ball. At least that's what it looked like, because it looks like his foot slid and then he got hit. I think his foot is down. I don't think this will be a turnover. Hilarious. Yeah, his foot is out of bounds. This should not be a turnover by the Detroit Lions, but I do think that you take the ball out of Godwin's hands at this point. 2 fumbles. I think you take him off the field. Jamar Jefferson is also padded up with his helmet on. So, dude, you think we can get 7 wins after next year's draft? I do. I think 7 wins is realistic. I don't know what the schedule looks like. But just based off of this year and the absolute gauntlet of a schedule that we have, give Dan Campbell or give, John Dorsey and Brad Holmes another year to just build up this roster, add some more talent. I think 7 wins, 8 wins is absolutely a realistic possibility for the Detroit Lions next year. I think 7-8 wins was realistic this year. And I mean, obviously, we're not going to hit that margin. But again, as I talked about for the whole live stream, like, a couple plays go different. And the Lions are, a 5 to 6 win team this year. So I think you give another year with, I think we have 9 draft picks without complimentary picks, and we should get at least 1 complimentary pick, if not 2 or 3. I mean, you go into this draft with what, 12 picks, 5, 6 in the first 3 rounds. I don't think 7 wins is unrealistic for next. I think that should be the expectation for next season. I don't think that at all 5 wins was great job to me. If we're talking about this year, I mean, I think this year would be fine. I think 5 wins was realistic this year, and I think it kind of still is. Jared Goff just needs to. Okay. That was kind of a weird play. I feel like 18 was open on that play, but I'm not entirely sure. I agree. My expectation is 7 wins for next year. I'm not going to put an expectation out there for next year because I don't know what the team looks like next year. I think after free agency and after the draft, I think the Lions' floor next year should be 6 wins. And I'm just kind of projecting based on like how much talent they had this year. I think that the Lions failed to convert. Great. I think next year the Lions' floor should be 6 wins. And depending on the draft, okay, that was not a bad throw by Jared Goff. I think the wide receiver should have caught that. But I think their floor is 6 wins. And depending on the draft, I think their ceiling can be anywhere from 8 to 10 wins. And like, again, that's a really good season with, good matchups and a good schedule and, players maybe exceeding expectations slightly. But I think next year, if we get kind of a repeat of last year's draft, adding all this talent, all these contributors, we get a good wide receiver or a top tier wide receiver. We get, a good safety, a solid edge rusher to go alongside Romeo Okwara, maybe another linebacker. I mean, I think, 6 to 10 wins is absolutely realistic for the Lions next year, right? And I know they're 1-10-1 right now, but they've had a ridiculous schedule this year. Every team they've played except for the Chicago Bears is in the playoff hunt right now. San Francisco is in the playoff hunt. Green Bay is in the playoffs. Baltimore is in the playoffs right now. You got Chicago, who is not. Chicago's not a good team. But, you have Minnesota twice. You have – who else did you have? Right? You look, San Francisco is a playoff team. Green Bay is a playoff team. Baltimore's a playoff team. Minnesota's a playoff team. Cincinnati is a playoff team. Los Angeles is a playoff team. Pittsburgh is a borderline playoff team. Cleveland's a borderline playoff team. Minnesota is a borderline playoff team. The Lions have played 3 games this year against teams that aren't playoff teams. Like Denver's 500. Denver's 500 and pushing for playoffs. I don't think they're quite a playoff team, but the Lions this year, of their 13 games, have played, I think, 2 teams under 500, 3 teams. Because Minnesota is now just under 500, I believe. I believe they're 6-7 because they lost to the Lions. So when they played, they were 500. The Bears twice, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I mean, you look at this schedule, right? You look at how ridiculous this schedule is. Playing, I mean, a playoff team, a 500 team every single week, a 500 or above team every single week, with the exception of the Bears game. And, I mean, you're looking at a ridiculous schedule. I mean, the Lions' strength of schedule this year, I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to look it up right here. Lions strength of schedule, because it has to be high. It absolutely has to be high. There's no way. Did I miss the Lions? I must have. Yeah, the Lions are tied for the sixth hardest strength of schedule while having a first year head coach. It's six. It's tied for six with the Bengals. So, I mean, the Lions are playing like pound for pound as far as their talent versus their opponent's talent, probably the toughest schedule in the NFL because the Steelers, as far as strength of schedule, have number one. They're a pretty good franchise, right? They have some real good pieces. T.J. Watt and Chase Claypool is really good, and Najee Harris is good. Like they're a good football team. They're 500. The Ravens are above 500. The Bears are not. The Packers are above 500. The Vikings are close to 500. The Bengals are above 500. The Lions and the Bears are probably two of the least talented teams in the NFL playing top five hardest schedules in the NFL. Our whole division is a hard schedule because we play the AFC North and we play all these teams. That's a good stop by the Lions defense though. And like you look at this, the Lions have the sixth hardest strength of schedule while having on paper the least talented team in the NFL with a first year defensive coordinator, a first year head coach, and a first year offensive coordinator, first year quarterback, and all the injuries and everything. Like, I don't want to give the Lions an excuse, but they have every excuse in the book to why they're not succeeding right now. So you give them a year with an average schedule, you give them a year to build up more talent, you give this roster a year to age and mature and grow together and build chemistry. You give Dan Campbell a year to grow as a play caller and a coach, which I think he's already grown a lot throughout the past 5 weeks. I think he's grown a ton as a play caller and as a coach. You give this team a year to get better and an easier schedule, and I don't think 7-8 wins is unrealistic for the Lions. And you think, okay, Jared Goff takes a huge step forward, or the Lions feel like they can draft a rookie at a really good value, right? Maybe a Desmond Ridder in the second round, maybe a Kenny Pickett at some point, like middle of the first round, early in the second round, and that player just explodes early. Like if we get great quarterback play or even good quarterback play, there's no reason this team with another year to grow and develop for everybody can't be a wild card team. Like there really is no reason. I agree, but I am at 2 years to allow. I mean, I think 2 years would be better, but I think you're gonna see a huge growth. And I know you don't want a quarterback, Dr. Detroit. And I wasn't saying that we should. I'm not saying that we should get a quarterback. I'm just saying if we do, right? If we get that Desmond Ridder in the second round, if we get that Kenny Pickett in the second round, and he just exceeds expectations, blows up immediately in the NFL, and becomes like rookie of the year kind of a player, there's no like with good quarterback, or better yet, Jared Goff just starts playing really well. Jared Goff just kind of finds his stride in year 2 in Detroit and starts playing a lot better, which his play has already improved drastically over, I'd say, since the bye week. Like we get better quarterback play with a year of development, and I don't see a reason this team can't be a borderline wild card, or at least fighting for the wild card late into the season. I want a quarterback next year, Young, CJ Stroud. There's a lot of guys. Yeah. Even Caleb Williams to some extent. I'm not mad about it. I am a bit chill because look at what they did with picks this year. Hard to knock it. Exactly. I mean, you look at all the talent they drafted this year. It's hard to deny the fact that the Lions had a good offseason. Like they did. They hired a good coach. They hired good coordinators. They got a phenomenal GM with a really good player personnel assistant, or whatever John Dorsey's official title is, as GM number 2, I guess, is what he really is. It's hard to say anything bad about the Lions draft because they hit on every single pick. They got value every single pick. And we talked about this as soon as the draft picks were made. Every single pick was a hit. Penei Sewell is great. Levi is not, I wouldn't say quite as good as maybe some people expected, but he's also not a full-time starter yet. Ali McNeil for a nose tackle who's supposed to stop the run is great. That was a phenomenal play, by the way. That was a great pick by Justin Simmons. Okay, now the game's over. I like that they're honoring Demaryius Thomas. I think that's really cool. But that was a ball that was behind Brock Wright, but that was still a great catch. But back to what Dr. Detroit was saying, like it's really hard to knock what Brad Holmes and John Dorsey did in the last offseason, especially in the draft. Because one, the talent they got was phenomenal. Two, they like kind of spread rumors before the draft that they were looking at players that they were not. Number three, they maneuvered in the draft really well. They traded up when they needed to. They traded back when they needed to. And they didn't miss. Brad Holmes took 7 swings in the NFL draft, and he made contact 7 times. He hit a home run with Penei Sewell, and he hit some solid draft picks everywhere else across the board. There was not a bad pick in last year's draft. And I don't expect Brad Holmes to bat at 100% every single draft for the rest of his career. But if he can replicate 60, 70% of the talent he got out of last year's draft in this year's draft with, I think, 5 or 6 more picks, I mean, this team has a potential to, one, stay as the youngest team in the NFL, but like have – 7 plus, 10, 11 picks this year. They can have 21st to second year players that are high impact with guys like Frank Ragnow and with guys like Taylor Decker and Jonah Jackson on the offensive line. The offensive line is pretty much set. I mean, maybe you get another guard to replace Vaitai, but your offensive line is set. Your running back room is set. Your tight ends, maybe you get a backup tight end eventually, but that's not really a big concern because I think Brock Wright's been playing okay. Really, the only thing you work on the offense is your wide receivers, and you get 1 or 2 because St. Brown's really good. St. Brown's your new Golden Tate. Now you just need your Megatron. Better, easier said than done, I know. But, you think dominant wide receiver on the offense, and that's all you need. Maybe, obviously better quarterback play as well, but that is not an immediate need. All right, you can wait a year for a quarterback, but you're thinking on the Lions right now, offensively, they need a big-time dominant wide receiver and a quarterback that can play at a high level. On defense, I think you need an elite pass rusher to go with Romeo Okwara. You need an elite safety, or at least a ball-hawking, rangy safety like Kyle Hamilton. And, maybe some linebacker depth. But after that, you need about 4 starting positions if you're the Detroit Lions. 4 to 5 starting positions. And then you can build depth, right? Then Khalif Raymond can be your gadget wide receiver, even though he's running some good routes. Like, he burnt Patrick Surtain twice already today. Jared Goff didn't hit it, but he burnt Surtain twice. I watched it. He becomes your deep threat. He becomes your situational wide receiver, and he's a starter right now. You look at Jerry Jacobs. Maybe he's a starter next year, and maybe he's not because he's going to compete with Ifiatu. He's going to compete with Jeff Okudah. Maybe you move Jeff Okudah to safety. He plays really, really well, like I think he can at safety, and you don't even need to draft a safety because you got a new one in Jeff Okudah who can play that position just fine. And then you can get your Aiden Hutchinson in the first round. You can get your Aiden Hutchinson early without having the regret of not taking a top safety prospect because you have somebody move to safety that can be a top young prospect. I think that trying Jeff Okudah at safety because of the emergence of Jerry Jacobs is not a bad idea. I think Jeff Okudah moving to safety was not a bad idea to begin with. And now with all the young talent in our secondary, I think it's an even better idea. Now, I don't think they're going to do it, but I think they can. Let's see. 51, make the tackle, and that's what he did. 2nd and 9, made the tackle. Good play. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to knock the fact that, I mean, the Lions have drafted really well under Brad Holmes. Okay, so there's a playoff picture right now for the AFC. The Lions have played the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Broncos. All of those teams are either in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt, and that's just in the AFC. The Lions' schedule has been ridiculous this year. It's not really fair. But I don't know. We'll see. Dr. Detroit, I hate you because the more I talk about Aiden Hutchinson, the more I like the idea of pairing him with Romeo Okwara. And I don't like that you changed my mind like that. I don't like it. It's not fair. I still love Kyle Hamilton, but the more I think about Aiden Hutchinson next to Romeo Okwara and moving Jeff Okudah to safety to play that next to Tracy Walker, I like that idea a lot. But you didn't. But I don't want to hear it. Okay, I don't want you to brag because I like both. But I think Aiden Hutchinson, I think he'd be a good pick. As much as I don't like saying it, I think it'd be a good pick. But I'm sure we'll debate this several times. And I mean, who knows? Aiden Hutchinson's season isn't even over. If he shows up against Georgia and Bama, it'll be hard to say no. But we'll see. I think recency bias has a lot to do with it. So we'll see. We will absolutely see. But since 49ers are winning right now versus the Bengals. Like that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to trust the GM. I mean, no, exactly. Brad Holmes has given me no reason not to trust him. Dan Campbell, I wouldn't say has given me no reason to not trust me or to not trust him, but I think he's given me more reasons to trust him than to not trust him. Right? I think just like every rookie head coach, he's made mistakes. Just like every rookie head coach, he's called bad plays and he's even called bad games at times. But he's also grown a ton. He's grown so much over the first 12 games of the season. I think today he called a really good game, especially considering what he had. Right? I mean, it's not his fault that Godwin fumbled. It's not really his fault that Jared Goff threw the interception. It was a good play call. Jared Goff just threw the ball behind him. I think Aaron Glenn did not have his best defense today, but at the same time, how could you with this roster? Dan is not an X's and O's guy. Other than that, I like him. See, but the thing is, he's calling the offensive plays. He's been calling the offensive plays since the bye week. And I will fully admit, up until, I'd say even the Chicago game, I didn't like the play calling. But since the Chicago game, and even parts of the Chicago game, like the deep passes, I've been really impressed with the play calling. I think he's grown so much over the past 3 weeks as a play caller that, I mean, yeah, he's not advertised as an X's and O's guy, but he's also not playing that bad. He's really not calling that bad of an offensive game. I just think the players are not executing as well as they could be, right? Jared Goff, that throw was not great. The overthrow to 84 on that third down on not the last drive, but 2 drives ago was not good. That would have been a touchdown. He missed Khalif Raymond for a touchdown. Dan Campbell's giving him all the opportunity. Jared Goff could realistically have 3 touchdowns in this game, and the Lions could be within 1 score right now if Jared Goff hits 2 passes. So, I mean, I don't think Dan Campbell, because he is calling this game, I don't think he's calling a bad game. I think he's grown a lot as a play caller, and I think his ability to grow and learn and adapt that fast at the NFL level is another trait of a good coach. So I know there's a lot of people that are not high on Dan Campbell right now, but unlike Matt Patricia, I'm seeing growth. Unlike Matt Patricia, I'm seeing them change things. I'm seeing, Dan Campbell grow as a play caller. I'm seeing him grow as a head coach. I'm seeing the defense improve almost weekly with a couple of bumps in the road like this week. But, your defense can't pitch a near shutout every week. Your defense can't hold to one touchdown every week. You're going to have weeks where your offense is going to have to score a lot to win. But I think, or at least the way I look at this team is there's before the bye and there's after the bye. And right now, I'm really only concerned with what I'm seeing after the bye week. After the Lions had time to adjust, after the Lions had time to make adjustments to their roster, to their game plan, since the bye week, the Lions have been really good. They tied a game, they won their first game, and the two games that they lost have been by a combined 5 points. And obviously this week they haven't been great. But if you are to tell me that 4 out of every 5 weeks the Lions are going to hold their opponents to a below average offensive day, and they are going to be in the game at the final drive and at the final play of the game, I'm going to tell you that I'm okay with that, especially this year. So you give Aaron Glenn a year to develop and learn. You give him an offseason to go back and watch what he did well, what his defense did well, and what it didn't. I think Aaron Glenn makes a big jump next year as a defensive coordinator. I think this team makes a big jump defensively because of Aaron Glenn next year, as Will Harris gives up a big 4th down conversion. But I think all this team needs is time to develop. I really do. I think they need a couple pieces here and there, and they need time because this team's so young, so inexperienced that, time is just going to help everything. Time is going to make all the young players better. Time is going to make, all these coaches smarter and more experienced. Time fixes everything. And I think that's true for the Detroit Lions right now. I think we just have to bide our time and wait. I think we've seen enough out of everybody this season to have confidence for the future. We've seen enough out of Brad Holmes to have confidence in him. We've seen enough out of Brad Holmes to have, enough out of Dan Campbell to have confidence in him. We've seen enough out of Aaron Glenn to have confidence in him for next year. You're talking players. I've seen enough out of Amani. I've seen enough out of Jacobs. I saw enough out of AJ Parker. I've seen enough out of Derek Barnes. I've seen enough out of Tracy Walker. I've seen enough out of DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson and all of the offensive line in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Quintez Cephas to have confidence for next year. Now, that doesn't mean that this roster can win a Super Bowl when healthy, but I'm saying that this roster, when healthy, with a year of development, with a year of maturing, and with a full another draft class and free agent class, can be really dangerous. I don't think they'll be Super Bowl contenders next year, but I bet they'll be wild card contenders. So that's just my take on the Detroit Lions. And I'm sure I'm gonna look bad because the Denver Broncos are probably gonna score again and put it at a 4-score game, and the game is gonna look a lot worse than it actually was. But I don't think this game was as blowoutish as the score would indicate. Like the Eagles game was bad. The Eagles game was a blowout, and the play on the field, as well as the scoreboard, will tell you that. The Bengals game, for part of it was close, but for a large majority of it was a blowout on the field and on the scoreboard. This game, I felt like on the scoreboard was a blowout, but on the field, it was competitive, right? The Lions go into halftime down 17-10. It's a 1-score game. The Lions have a turnover on their first drive. They have a turnover with Jared Goff throwing the interception. That's 2 possessions lost. And now the Denver Broncos are just running out the clock. Like, I don't think it was a blowout on the field like the scoreboard's going to indicate at the end of this game. Were the Lions outplayed? Absolutely. Were the Lions out-talented? Absolutely. Did the Lions make key mistakes all over the field? Absolutely. But I don't think this game was a blowout, and I don't think it was as bad as the scoreboard will indicate. So that's my take on the game. If anybody else has something different, I would love to hear it now. But I mean, I don't know. I know it's a 3-score game. It's about to be a 4-score game, but I don't view this game as a blowout. I don't even necessarily view it as a negative thing. And I know everybody in the Lions media is going to say, "Oh my God, the Lions lost again, lost embarrassingly. You know, they got that win and then they gave up." All the narratives are going to be pushed. And I don't think any of them are going to be correct. I think everybody's going to look at this game as a negative when they shouldn't. Because I didn't learn anything from this game that I didn't already know. I did not learn, other than the fact that Craig Reynolds is apparently a monster, I didn't learn anything from this game. As a Lions fan or as an NFL fan, I think the Lions did what they could with the talent that they were afforded to put on the field today. I think the Denver Broncos took advantage of an extremely depleted Detroit Lions team, as they should have. But there was no takeaways for me today. There was nothing after this game that I didn't know going into it. I knew the Lions were depleted. I knew the Broncos were a good team, especially when it came to rushing the ball. I knew the Lions had holes, especially in run defense at times. Right? I mean, Jared Goff even, like 19 for 30, 170, touchdown interception. That's a Jared Goff game. That's a very, very Jared Goff game, actually. And, you know, they're just going to let the clock run out at this point. And, you know, I think that I think the Broncos played inspired today because of the loss of Demaryius Thomas. And I think the Lions had a very small chance of winning this game. And if you were to tell me that the Lions would walk out of this game starting 1 or 2 of their 11 starters, I would say, well, yeah, no wonder the Lions didn't win. As they score another touchdown. That's okay. But, like, I mean, if you were to tell me the Lions walk out of this game 4 touchdowns down because they lost everybody before the game, and then they ended the game, and Jerry Jacobs leaves 2 plays in, and Alex Anzalone leaves on the second drive, and, you know, you're relying on Jalen Elliott and Dean Marlowe as your safeties. Like, I mean, what could the Lions have really done? I don't think there was a whole lot for them to do. So, yeah, the game is officially over. The Lions are going to lose by 4 scores, maybe more if Jared Goff decides to throw an interception. But, I mean, what other outcome was there today? Like, this is kind of like the Buccaneers game last year, where it's like, you know, your team's depleted. Your coaches are new because last year, you know, during the Bucs game, like, all of their coaches were out with COVID. Like, what did you want the Lions to do? Like, did you want them to just magically come up with more talent? Because they don't have any. I didn't think that, you know, the Lions gave up in this game. I think that they still are trying hard. I think without the turnovers, it's a much closer game. But, I mean, again, I didn't learn anything from the Lions-Broncos game. I think that this is exactly – if you played this game 100 times, this game ends the same way 98 times, right? You're always going to have the 2% chance that the Lions pull off a huge upset with significantly less talent. But you play this game 100 times, the Broncos win 98 out of 100. because they're more talented, they're more experienced, and they simply aren't facing the controversy that the Detroit Lions are right now. So, you know, unfortunate loss for the Detroit Lions. I guess now would be a good a time as any to go over the box score for the game. Jared Goff had, a pretty Jared Goffish day. Like, he went 19 for 30 for 170 yards with one touchdown and one interception. What else are you going to ask for when Jared Goff's on the field? Like, obviously the interception sucks, but at the same time, I can't. I don't think Jared Goff was the reason we lost this game. I'd say the only real disappointing part of this football game was the rushing defense. Because the offense, yeah, they scored 10 points, but they rushed really well. They passed okay. Receivers were solid. Amon-Ra had 8 for 73 and a touchdown. Like, Godwin fumbled, which was not good. Like, the defense had 4 tackles for loss, a pass defended, a couple quarterback hits, a sack. Like, if the rush defense is a little better, then, that the game's closer, and that's about as simple as it gets. And I'm just kind of, talking our way out of the last minute and a half of this football game. But, I guess bright side, Craig Reynolds is good. Craig Reynolds, I think, should get the start next week if DeAndre Swift can't return and if Jamal Williams isn't off of the COVID list. I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown has kind of emerged as that number one wide receiver. Again, another missed throw down the field by Jared Goff. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has really emerged as the Detroit Lions' number one weapon, number one wide receiver, especially when TJ Hockenson is not on the field. I can't wait to see DeAndre Swift, TJ Hockenson, and this version of Amon-Ra St. Brown on the field at the same time, because I think that trio can be pretty solid. You look at, I don't know why it just changed. I guess something just probably happened. 3rd and 10, Jared Goff drops back. Just checks it down to Craig Reynolds, who gets a couple more fantasy points to rub in my face. But yeah, not a lot to be disappointed about other than the rush defense. And if the rushing defense was a little better, then I think the Lions have a much better chance of being in this game. There's a minute 34 seconds left. The Lions have a first down at the Denver Broncos, or at their own 39-yard line. Jared Goff drops back to pass, throws it deep down the field, misses KhaDarel Hodge deep down the field. Jared Goff has been off today. He really, really has been. I don't know. His deep ball hasn't been there. And, you look at the Chicago game, that deep touchdown, that was a great deep ball. The 2 deep balls he had last week into the end zone were really good. He is usually a pretty good deep ball thrower, and he's had, 4 or 5 opportunities down the field to make some big plays with his arm for the Lions, and he hasn't. Like, the plays have been there. The play calls have been there. They've schemed up people down the field for Jared Goff to get the ball to. And the Lions just didn't do it. Or not the Lions, Jared Goff just hasn't hit those deep window throws. Right? He missed the one to 84. That would have been a touchdown. He missed the one to Khalif Raymond. He threw it out of bounds when it would have been a touchdown. He missed the one to KhaDarel Hodge. That would have been a touchdown. He has 3 plays right there that would have been touchdowns that he just could not hit. As the Lions get another penalty to go their way in garbage time. I don't think Jared Goff's the reason we lost this game. And if that's what it sounds like, that's not what I'm trying to imply. I am just simply saying that Jared Goff in the entire Lions team was off this week. I don't know if it was the injuries. I don't know if it was the whole flu thing going around. I don't know if it's just one of those weeks where nothing is going to go right for you. But Jared Goff specifically was really off. And the Lions as a team just kind of seemed off this week. It wasn't like they weren't trying. Like, it wasn't like they've given up, because I definitely didn't get that impression this week. I kind of got the feeling that this whole flu thing is affecting them maybe a little more than people originally thought. And I'd love Amon-Ra to like get a touchdown here. Like, they just throw a bomb and he comes down with it and mosses some people. And I think that's going to be the last play of the game. Is going to be Craig Reynolds. Maybe they spike it and go one play for the end zone. They snap it. I mean, what a better way to end the game. Incomplete pass deflected by the defensive lineman. The game is over. Again, not a lot of takeaways. Like, the Lions were without so many key pieces today. It would have been really hard for them to win. The Denver Broncos were playing a little extra inspired this week with playoff hopes on the line and with the passing of team legend Demaryius Thomas. The Lions lost. The Lions moved to 1-11-1, and it is what it is. So with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. It's been 3 hours and 30 seconds to this point since we have gone live. First live stream back in a very long time, and I was very, very excited to get back into it. Didn't have all the numbers today as far as viewers, but that's okay. We're going to get back into the groove. Video will be coming out tomorrow about this game, recapping it a little bit with some fresh eyes in the morning. But overall, not a great game by the Detroit Lions, but with all the injuries and everything, it was going to be very hard for them to walk away with the victory. So with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today, and that is all I will have for you guys until tomorrow. But with all that being said, thank you all so very much for showing up. Thank you all so very much for tuning into the live stream, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Thank you all for watching. Bye, guys.